Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to listen to the incomparable Win Twice Wrestling Podcast with your hosts, Scott and Holly. So sit back, relax, and prepare to be entertained. You can't tell the story of WrestleMania without talking about the rise of Vince McMahon Jr. Vince had an estranged relationship with his father, and the two were not reunited until Vince was 12 years of age. Vince McMahon Sr. had left the family home with Vince Jr.'s elder brother Rod when Jr. was just a baby. When the two did reconnect, it wasn't long before little Vince wanted to follow in his father's footsteps in the world of promoting professional wrestling. Despite Jess McMahon, Vince Sr.'s father, and he himself working in the business of promoting the sport of kings, Vince Sr. discouraged his son from stepping into the same arena, instead advising his son to get a government job which carried a pension. After a great deal of persistence and badgering on behalf of Junior, the senior McMahon presented Vince with an opportunity to promote WWF shows in Bangor, Maine, after the local promoter had been caught stealing. With this opportunity came a clear message of warning to his son. This will be your first and last shot at this. Vince seized upon this olive branch and over the next 10 years helped his father triple their TV ratings. In 1979, Vince, alongside his wife Linda, founded Titan Sports, and come 1982 had purchased his father's promotion, which included buying out investors Gorilla Monsoon, Arnold Scarland and Phil Zacco. In wrestling, nothing is ever straightforward, and so proves to be the case here. As part of the sale, Monsoon, Scarland and Zacco relinquished 385 shares of the company to the Capital Wrestling Corporation, Vince Sr.'s company, for more than $640,000. These shares would then be awarded to Titan Sports upon completion of the sale. However, this would only transpire if Vince Jr. kept all of his balloon payment promises. If he should default on even a single payment, Vince Sr. and his partners would get the business back and keep any money that had been paid to that point. Titan Sports agreed to buy the remaining 615 shares for $1 million. Within a year, the WWF began to aggressively recruit from their competition such as the AWA and Jim Crockett promotions, with the likes of Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper, Bobby Heenan, Jesse Ventura and Ricky Steamboat, to name but a few, finding a new home with the promise of national TV exposure and bigger paydays to line their pockets. Vince McMahon was ahead of the game, and his willingness to cross unspoken thresholds and incorporate the surging pop culture scene into his wrestling product led him to putting all of his eggs into one basket: WrestleMania. If he failed, the WWF would be forced to close its doors. 40 years later, and now a bona fide billionaire, that gamble clearly paid off. Hello everybody, and welcome to episode number 10 of the Win Twice Wrestling Podcast, alongside your hosts Scott and Holly.
Hello.
How you doing, Holly? You good?
I'm great, thank you.
You're really looking forward to this one, are you?
Yes.
I can imagine. So this is, well, it's the same as our usual type of episodes. However, we are now delving into a historical journey, let's say. And this will be the first ever episode of our March Through The Mania series, where we'll be covering each WrestleMania that's happened, going all the way back to 1985.
Yay.
Now, this was a potential stumbling block for you, Holly, was it not? Because of the quality of the video footage.
I really struggle watching things that are old.
I don't get that, because, like, for example, you watch Friends.
Yes.
How do you cope with the early episodes of that?
I don't watch the first 3 seasons.
Is that actually a thing?
Yes.
Oh my god.
I know it's stupid.
Well,
I'm aware.
I don't want to say stupid, it's different.
Oh no, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, well,
it's
yeah,
ridiculous.
Okay. It's not great. So, you'll have all heard the opening monologue, which is a thing that I'm trying to get sorted out for each of the WrestleMania episodes. They won't be on the standard ones, but specifically for WrestleMania, hoping to have something like that to kick off each episode, with the wonderful WrestleMania theme tune in the background.
Yes.
Isn't it a nice little treat?
Cliche 80s.
It's so good, though. I want WrestleManias now to have that tune.
Music.
Genuinely. Like, it's one of those things where it just works for me.
Okay.
It hits every level that you'd want it to. Survivor Series used to have its own theme as well back in the day, but that's long since gone. But anyway. So this one, WrestleMania 1, the very first ever WrestleMania, the granddaddy of them all. So that took place on the 31st of March 1985 at, of course, Madison Square Garden in New York City. Attendance on the night, 19,121, with a buy rate of 398,000. So this was, in terms of what WWF were doing, this was such a landmark event for them. I mentioned it in the monologue at the start of this, that it was dead serious. If they didn't make a success of this, they might have had to close their doors because they were that close to going under as it was.
Right.
So they needed to make an impact to kind of generate interest, generate buzz, and that was what they did with the Rock and Wrestling Connection.
Mm-hmm.
So the Rock and Wrestling Connection was mainly started through Dave Wolf. So you probably have no idea who Dave Wolf is.
Absolutely not. No.
We see him in the show.
Okay.
He's with Cyndi Lauper, so he's her manager.
Him. Yes,
the long-haired rock star,
sunglasses,
indoors. Mm-hmm. Yep, I knew that was going to feature.
Of course.
So he was a big wrestling fan.
Okay.
And when they were going to do the music video for Girls Just Want to Have Fun,
I'm sure you've told me about this. Yes.
Briefly mentioned this in the past. They were looking for a father figure to play Cyndi Lauper's dad, and they went with a wrestling person in Captain Lou Albano, who we also see on the show a little bit later on. So you're looking at me very confused. I guarantee you he's in this show.
I don't doubt you for a minute.
I'll point him out for you. But yeah, so in many respects you could say that Cyndi Lauper saved the WWF from going under.
Okay.
Which is very, very odd to say. But it's true.
Because later on, my point is, why is she here? But now you've explained it, it makes sense.
Yep, so because she didn't have any affinities to wrestling at all. But because of Dave Wolf, who was a manager and boyfriend, partner, I don't think they were married. I don't know if they ever did get married. I didn't care to look, to be perfectly honest with you. But it was very interesting to see, because she was far from the only celebrity that we see on this show.
Yeah.
Some of them you will know.
Yeah.
Others,
I know some.
One specifically, I know for a fact you won't know who they are.
Okay.
So I'm just going to rattle off some of the celebrities that we see.
Okay, I'll say yay or nay if I knew who they were.
I'll start with the ones that are going to be surefire wins for you.
You better hope they'll be surefire.
Yeah. So Muhammad Ali.
Yes, I know who he is.
We're going to go for someone who I don't think you will. Billy Martin.
Absolutely not.
Liberace.
Yeah, I know who Liberace is.
I'll be honest, Liberace is someone that, when I first saw this pay-per-view, so obviously I wasn't even around in 1985, low-key flex.
Low-key flex.
Yeah.
Neither was I, I'm just putting it out there.
Very true. I had no concept of who Liberace. Well, to be fair, it's flamboyant enough. Let's not add that to the name as well. Zesty indeed. I had no concept of who they were, and up until, I want to say within the last 10 years, I thought they were a woman.
Okay.
Really thought. Just because it's kind of had the same haircut as my grandma.
Yeah, I get
Didn't have overly masculine features in any way, and was wearing enough bling to drown Mr. T.
Who is
Mr. T
there?
was another celebrity
I know who he is.
who featured obviously more heavily than the others, but they had a hell of a lot of people on hand to try and make this, as Gorilla Monsoon would say several times in the broadcast, a happening. Still haven't quite worked out what he means by happening is, but that's a drinking game on the show. So I don't need to read the first page. We've already done the monologue, so we're straight on to page 2 now. How did you find the initial video shots?
I was concerned.
Yeah.
This started me off with okay, so I sat down and I literally gave myself a little pep talk before it started. I was like, be open-minded, just don't focus on the fact that it's old, because it is, but just take it for what it is. It's not that long.
This is
true.
Yep.
And just go with it. And then I pressed play, and the music started, and this video sequence started, and I went, I need a drink.
Even by 80 standards, this was about as cliche and fluffy as you could imagine.
Honestly.
So we start with a very 1980s opening with a still shot of the Empire State Building. We see images of all the matches scheduled to take place on the night. So for you, this might not have even necessarily been a bad thing, because when we're looking at the modern stuff, I know you don't like knowing what's coming up. None of these, maybe 5 of these people at most you'd have recognised. Yes,
I think there was a couple that I went, oh, okay. But then because I watched it in stints, my memory is so bad, I'd forgotten what I'd already seen anyway, so it was all fresh.
How many takes did it require to get through
Only
this?
3.
Oh, that's not bad, actually. I thought you'd have had to chuck... I really thought it was going to be half an hour at most per stint, so I thought it was going to be 4 plus.
No, I was okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very excited, as you can imagine. So this is the first one that we've seen that's anywhere before. I think the oldest show we've seen up to this point, I don't think we've even seen anything in the 90s, have we?
Didn't we do a late...
We've done late 2001.
Oh.
I don't think we've touched the 90s.
When was TLC? Was that not late 90s?
That was a match, but that was after 2000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think that was WrestleMania to 2001.
Oh, lovely. It opens up the late 90s. That's fine.
Yes. So we haven't even... So not only have we bypassed the 90s, we've gone straight into the mid-80s for this.
Well, yeah. Fair play.
So as well as showing the matches that are taking place, we also see the celebrities that they have on hand. That's going to play a big part in this. For if you're thinking as Vince McMahon at the time, which is
just to draw attention to...
Draw eyes to the product.
So
as well as the pay-per-view buy rate that I mentioned, I should probably have also said that they would rent out like a load of cinemas. And
okay. Did like a watch-along type thing.
Yeah, but they charge admission, so as if they were at the event. So it was, I think they called it closed circuit viewing. So they had a lot of that thrown into here, and they actually did make a success of WrestleMania. Idea. Very clever. Yeah. I don't know when that kind of art form died out, because I guess the pay-per-view market in general, specifically for wrestling and WWE, it's not what it used to be, because they don't bank on it. They've got the network now. But the big play was the celebrity involvement here, and you hear a lot of things on the commentary team where they're hitting the same point over and over again, and you can only imagine that's because they've got Vince McMahon
really
in their
hammer it home.
Yeah, Vince McMahon in their ear saying, "Make sure you say this." So later on, I don't make mention of it as it's mentioned in the show, but I heard Jesse Ventura say several times, "I've seen bad NFL games or bad Super Bowls. I've seen bad World Championships, but I will not see bad WrestleMania." Like, it's really just going over and over the same point again.
Is that the first of many impressions? Or
that wasn't me actually going through an impression. I just tried to put a grizzly American voice on. I mean, you heard him talk. That's not what he sounds like. So I'm sure there will be the unintentional imitation down the line, and I can only apologise for that. But I'll be honest, if I'm entertaining myself, I don't care.
I like it. I think it's funny.
I know, because either they're very good and you laugh, or they're very bad and you laugh. And there aren't many very good ones. So we go straight into Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura welcoming us to the show. This will be your first introduction.
This was the guy that you told me about.
Yep, so Gorilla Monsoon was a former wrestler in his own right. He was mainly around in the 60s and 70s. And then, again, as I mentioned in the monologue, he became like an investor and a business partner for Vince McMahon Sr. when it came to changing the WWF, as it was at the time. Okay. So they had an extra W. Worldwide Wrestling Federation instead of the World Wrestling Federation. So that's, again, Vince McMahon just getting something and immediately needing to change it to put his own stamp on it and to show that it's going in a different direction. Because one thing that I omitted from the original discussion is that Vince Sr. didn't want his son doing what he did. Yes. Because, like I said, there were so many unspoken rules within the business. Granted, Vince Sr. himself, when I mentioned the National Wrestling Alliance before, that was the overall authority of professional wrestling in America, and that was everyone who was anyone of value were in this agreement that, like I said, they wouldn't encroach into other people's territories.
Oh, I see.
They wouldn't steal talent from people. It was always very much working in cohesion, in unison, exactly. And there was one champion, the NWA champion, who would tour from promotion to promotion.
Oh, I see.
So each region
they didn't
would
have their own.
So
their own regional camp.
Basically, that's the way to look at it. So each promotion would have their own champion, and then they would often be the ones that would do the business with the NWA champion when they came into town. Vince Sr. was the one that actually kind of started to back away from the NWA. So it wasn't like he didn't go against what was considered the grain in his day, but his son went so far out of it where he was stabbing people in the back effectively to get what he would want. So he would go to television production companies. One that comes to mind is Georgia Championship Wrestling, and he went to their TV provider and said, "I'll give you X amount of money, you give me their TV slot, and then we'll show our..."
Oh, okay.
I think it was called Black Tuesday in wrestling circles. This is for people who've got memory that exceeds that, and I probably should have done a little bit more research myself to make sure I'm not spouting nonsense, but it definitely happened, and he would do this all over the country. A lot of people got bitter about it, only because probably they were hesitant to pull the trigger themselves and do what he did. He just was... He saw the trend that was changing, and this was the point in time where it's funny to look at it now, because you think of Vince McMahon and he's so antiquated in his ways. The game's moved past him. Not as in Triple H, that was an unintentional pun there. Yeah. But back then, he was so ahead of his time. So it's interesting. And we see, as you said, Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura. What did you think of those suits, Holly?
Wow.
What about those tuxedos?
Wow. It's,
Strong.
Yeah. And sunglasses
Yes.
inside.
That's very much a Jesse the Body Ventura thing. He became the governor of Minnesota.
Did he?
At a later date, yep. He had political office. I think the only time you might have ever seen him before was, I believe it was SummerSlam 99.
Gosh.
He was a special guest referee in a match. So I'm sure at some point we'll cover that show anyway, and you'll see what he looks like now.
Okay.
He is someone who, I believe he is in the WWE Hall of Fame, but he had quite a history with Vince Jr. For a couple of reasons. Firstly, he thought he should be having a title feud with Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
Which would kind of make sense, because I think those two would have gelled quite well given their big flamboyant personalities. There's probably a bit of business to be had there. But I think Jesse was already kind of at the tail end of his career by the time WWF or WWF, because I know he had a stint under Vince's dad as well, brought him in. And the second one is he tried to unionise the wrestlers. So in wrestling, especially at that time, if you were unfit to work through injury, sickness, whatever, you didn't get paid. Yeah. It was a pay-as-you-play type deal. Jesse said, this isn't right. Like, you need us to be able to put on the shows. He's not wrong.
No.
Vince got wind of that. He got wind of it from, allegedly, I don't think it's ever been confirmed, Hulk Hogan.
Ooh.
Went and ratted out this whole union talk, because
snitches get stitches.
They could have got ahead of the game on this and pushed this through
Yeah.
before Vince really had time to react to it and put a kibosh on it. So Ventura is not a fan of Hogan, to say the least. And this created a lot of resentment with Vince, because he didn't want his workers to have those kind of rights, basically. And even now, they're not unionised. There's no pension for wrestlers. You just work, you earn,
and then
you're
retired, and that's it.
Yeah, and if you think about it, they have to...
No wonder they... Probably some of them work well past when they should.
Yeah, because, I mean, bear in mind, choice. I don't know the ins and outs of it now, but I can't imagine, apart from the high earners, and even them I wouldn't guarantee, they'd have to pay for their travel expenses, because they're going from town to town, rental cars, flights, horrendous. But
gosh.
So yeah, that's a bit of a background information on Jesse Ventura for you. I'll do that with a few characters as we go along, to kind of add a little bit more colour for you. And yeah, Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse on commentary just work well together. I think they have quite a good
I didn't mind it
rapport.
actually. I was a bit concerned at the beginning, because I was like, oh god, and then actually I listened and I was like, no, I'm alright with this.
They work well together. So you've got the classical cheering the baby faces, make sure everyone's doing things ethically. Gorilla Monsoon, and then you've got Jesse Ventura, who's calling out the bullshit and the double standards. So he'll go, oh, babyface would do something. If you saw him do that, you wouldn't say anything. But as soon as this guy... He doesn't say babyface. But if this guy did it, it's a problem, isn't it, Gorilla? Or, sorry, Gorilla is what he says. He never says Gorilla. Or he said Gino is the other one that he calls him by. Howard Finkel now.
I did. When I heard his name, and so I thought, Scott will be happy.
Oh, I was so happy. I just miss his voice for WrestleMania. I'd rather than play audio of him announcing the Royal Rumble than have someone call it in the ring, because they could just pump.
They could get an AI. To be fair, they could do with AI. They could get.
Yeah, true, but I wasn't even thinking of that. Just get an old recording. He's done enough Rumbles in the past.
Oh, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, but I just saw him. They look like a little Muppet.
Oh,
doesn't he? Just with his little kind of bowl haircut, like Friar Tuck haircut. Yes. But again, just so great. And he was officially the first ever employee of Titan Sports, or WWF. He originally worked, I think it was in his local area, and he wanted to get involved in the wrestling business. Ended up doing a little bit of work in the regional arenas in terms of managing that kind of stuff, and then got brought in to be the very first employee. And it was, of course, him that stopped us getting the Colossal Tussle as the name of WrestleMania. He's the one that's been widely credited with going WrestleMania. So Monsoon says, welcome to WrestleMania, the wrestling extravaganza of all time. Don't know what... He's missed out words there.
Oh, yeah, just
the wrestling the greatest
extravaganza.
Yeah.
It's just the extravaganza.
Yes, it's the wrestling extravaganza of all time. I just put, what? I get what you're trying to land there. And it's not the only time he says it as well. There's 3 times I think he says it over the course of the show. Lord Alfred Hayes.
Oh, he is my favourite person throughout this whole programme.
I've got several comments about him. And
this poor guy.
Right.
Poor guy.
So I've actually done a little bit of a disservice there to Gene Okerlund.
Yeah.
So in the middle of the ring,
is that the guy that was singing?
It was indeed.
Mean Gene?
Yeah, Mean Gene Okerlund.
Yeah, who also, just to note, read the national anthem.
Yes, and also goes, everybody! At one point towards the end. Like, surely you should know this.
I mean, I couldn't sing the UK one, but if I knew I was doing it in front of a crowd, I'd learn it off by heart.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
To be clear.
So we were talking about tuxes, and I feel like there's going to be lots of opportunities to discuss.
Don't diss his tux. The poor
Lord
guy.
Alfred Hayes.
The poor guy.
What I mean, it's the most surreal look. So he's wearing a cream tux with red bow tie, and I'm just sick on the floor immediately.
This guy made my heart sad.
He used to be a wrestler as well back in the day. I think he went on to managerial work and then did some commentary and road agent work for the WWF. He looks like he's in a school performance being filmed by his parents, and he's forgotten all of his lines.
Yes.
He's
looks very nervous.
Terrified.
And very...
thanks, Gorilla, for passing over to me.
Yes.
We're going to have an intriguing match right now. And he's just
Impression number 2.
There you go.
Wow.
And he's just looking all over the gap.
Yeah, he's nervous.
But he's a professional.
Well...
But to give him credit, I'm wondering if there was so much at stake.
Yes.
And everyone was aware how much was at stake. I get feeling the additional pressure, especially working under someone like Vince McMahon. I can only imagine that is horrendous. But he
instantly was my favourite person.
I'll be honest, I'm a fan. There's a lot of comments of me giving him, like, I immediately shit on his attire.
I just want to give him a hug.
Yeah, we love him.
Not at this. No, I know, but like not at this point. But a bit later on, once the matches start, I just wanted to give him a hug.
There's one bit which is wonderful that I'm so excited. Okay. This is the enjoyment of these shows. We're going to get so many weird shit like this that we have to cover off.
Yes.
Early doors, I noticed that everything was so quick. They were trying to smash as much in as they could in a short period of time. So even though it's one of the shorter shows we've watched,
there was
my notes are probably exceed a lot of the other shows because I'm not just doing what happened in matches. I'm going, they cut from this person to this person.
Yeah.
So again, they're just introducing, kind of getting us used to the cast of characters. Because again, we have to remember, for the first time, people watching this who aren't wrestling fans probably have no idea who these people are.
No.
So it kind of familiarises us with them. So back to Gene Okerlund. So he's just on the national anthem. We've gone back to Gene. With backstage interviews. And now,
God.
These interviews are
painful.
Not even painful, because they're so bad they're good.
They're so bad they're funny.
Yeah, like the things that people are coming out with. Again, you're a professional wrestler. One of the pillars or key cornerstones that you have to make sure that you can nail down is you need to be able to do a promo.
Yeah.
And I saw 3 on the show that I thought were okay.
Okay.
The rest, toilet. Absolute unmitigated toilet.
Okay.
These 2 aren't good ones. The ones that we start off with.
Is this the most blow-dried hair I've ever seen in my life?
Well, it depends. So I think yes, it is. It starts with Tito Santana.
Yes,
doesn't it?
That's voluminous.
It's luscious,
coiffed to within an inch of its life. That
hair. I think, and that was kind of the 80s style. So I don't begrudge that. The kind of blown-out poodle look, which my mum rocked even at my wedding last year. Bless her. Sorry, she's not going to listen to this. No chance. So Tito Santana says the Masked Executioner is undefeated, but he hasn't been in the big leagues. That's basically the gist of it.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to stop Tito from achieving his goals. Arriba. Sorry, Arriba! Is that better?
Yeah,
there you go.
Thank
you. 3.
Thank you.
And then we go to the Masked Executioner, Buddy Rose.
Oh, is that...
So,
wait, I didn't know who it was because no one knows who this man is, even though his mask is awful.
Right,
but just, I obviously didn't know who he was.
You don't know who Buddy Rose is now that I've said it, to be fair.
No, and I don't think he got a Google either, I'll be honest.
No, that's fair. So Buddy Rose was more prominent in the NWA territory at the time. A lot of what they did for... not these kind of shows specifically, but they'd often put someone under a mask and just pretend that the Executioner is like a stereotypical name that they'd give to a wrestler that they just wanted to give a different character to and not have them just wrestle as themselves without a mask.
Okay.
But with that being said, my first comment, the Masked Executioner wearing a poorly fitting jockstrap on his face stumbles over his promo immediately, like 3 words in, he's all over the place, before finishing with, "I am a big leaguer!" Okay, great, cheers. This is
impression number 4.
Yeah, that was just me shouting.
I'm taking them all as impressions.
Fine. So this is the first of the interviews because I don't think it showed 2 pre-recorded bits, and it makes sense because Gene was in the ring just a second ago, so he couldn't get backstage.
No.
But there's a trend in the other interviews that I wonder if you picked up on, because I certainly mentioned it when we get to the next one.
Okay.
And don't worry, they're before every fucking match.
Oh.
So we will get there.
Okay.
Now we go into the very first match. The very first match
Yes.
of any WrestleMania ever. Set the tone. Get it in early, right? We have the Executioner against Tito Santana.
Yeah.
From parts unknown, weight unknown, for those wondering about the Executioner. I know I was.
I did just put from parts unknown. I mean, are we just saying we don't know where it's from?
We don't care enough to come up with a backstory.
Oh, is that what that
we're
is?
saying.
Okay.
I think so. Immediate headlock by Santana, as Ventura calls him Chico, which is a theme that Jesse would do specifically with Tito. Like, he'd come out with, I don't want to say racist things, but just, apologies for hitting the microphone, but just things that you can't say nowadays without having to over-explain why you're making comments that could be deemed by some to be racist.
Right.
So Chico was a big one for him, but he'd make a lot of Mexican-based jokes.
Oh, okay, that's right. Makes
and
sense.
this was the only one I clocked on because I was too busy writing down the Fast and Furious action that I was seeing in front of me.
Fast and Furious, what were you watching?
Well, exactly. So they crisscross because one of the dumbest moves in old wrestling, where one person is bouncing off one set of ropes.
I did watch this and I go, what are we achieving here? Apart from synchronous, like, you can keep time. I don't really understand because no one's doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, the crowd don't even get excited on this.
No.
Because why would you? It's so dumb, though. Just stop running.
Yeah.
At any time.
It is a bit odd.
I know we kind of picked holes in the Irish whip before, but this is like that to the nth degree.
Yeah, no.
This is different gravy.
Odd.
So as they crisscross before Tito delivers a big back body drop and follows up with a drop kick, sending the masked man to the floor. So immediately we're outside the ring.
Is this when the cameraman got taken down very early?
Yeah, that amused me. Very early indeed. Drinking game for every time they shoehorn WrestleMania into the commentary.
Thank God I didn't do that. I would have been shit-faced.
You'd been paralytic after about 5 minutes of this show. Santana back with a side headlock, walks up the corner buckles to assist in a takedown, which I quite liked.
I did note that down too. Actually, nice.
Yes,
that's what I commented.
That's the first move that's got a thumbs up from Holly. So
yes, it was actually.
Well done, Tito Santana.
Yep.
Executioner hits the leg as promised, because in his promo he did say he was going to focus on the knee, because I think Greg Valentine had already worked it over going into WrestleMania, but Tito stops him by driving his face into the canvas. Again, what I like about old wrestling, because it's obviously not going to be as athletic as what we get these days, but what I see them do, I want to make sense.
Yes.
So I think the Executioner was kind of on his knees. Tito just went, right, grab your head, I'm going to smash it into the floor. It's effective.
Makes sense.
Simple but effective. The Masked Man gets momentum and smashes Santana into the turnbuckles before driving a knee into the midsection.
Yes.
Goes back to working over the leg, but it doesn't last. Tito fires up and the Executioner backs off begging. Love a dastardly heel begging.
Oh, for sure.
No one does it like Flair does, but I do often like it when I see it. Santana is powered up overhead in a back body drop and a body slam follows. Executioner goes up top but is press slammed back to the canvas. Very exciting times. I'm sure you were just riveted. You were on the edge of your seat for this one.
I did, I was thrilled.
Santana attempts a running splash but lands on the Masked Man's knees.
Oh yeah, that I commented. I thought that was quite clever.
Yeah, like anything that you think I'm overlooking or want to interject, please do, because
I will. Don't worry.
There's some matches in here that are going to be difficult to drag out beyond 2 sentences.
Yeah, I know.
The Executioner goes back to the leg, but is yeeted out of the ring.
Yes,
said that. Yeah. Flying forearm connects, so that's usually Tito's finishing move. The flying forearm.
Okay.
And I don't want to be out of line, but I'm sure I've heard Jesse Ventura, not in this show, but call it the flying burrito before.
Oh.
It's not that. I can't remember the name of it. I just know it's the flying forearm.
Right.
Connects, and Santana then pulls him into the middle of the ring, so he doesn't go for a cover.
No.
He goes for the figure 4 leg lock, and the Executioner verbally submits. He didn't tap.
Yeah, I didn't have a clue this was finished.
See, this is because we're looking at it through modern eyes. So back in 1985, tapping the mat meant nothing. Because tapping the mat was only popularised with the UFC and MMA.
Oh, I see.
To signal defeat. You'll see in a lot of old shows, in fact, before tapping out was a thing. In fact, tapping out only really kind of came into the WWE in about 96, 97.
Oh, okay.
When Ken Shamrock got involved as a former UFC fighter. You'd see people like be tapping in pain to try and like claw to the thing, but you look now and you go, ref, end it, they're tapping out, but they're not.
Oh, see, because I was watching and I heard the bell go and I was like, why is it finished?
Yep.
I was so confused. I was like, I mean, I wasn't mad about it, but I was like, that's confusing.
You mean this wasn't your match of the night?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
Did you know that, what's his name?
Tito Santana?
was 32.
Oh my god. Tough paper, isn't it?
A lot older, huh?
Yeah.
I googled it. That was my googling.
Yeah, well,
There's a lot of age googling that I did purely because I was like, I don't even know what else to be looking at.
I'm fascinated by this because I did none of that, so you're filling in the holes here. That's great.
Thank you.
So Santana wins, but he actually then takes an age to let go of the hold, and I thought that's not a good guy thing to do. You're supposed to let go. You've won.
I was just hoping he'd hurry up.
Well, they got to drag it out for 2 hours and 15 minutes.
I did like that at the very beginning of these matches. They tell you there's a time limit, which appeased me greatly.
Yes, they did.
Like, 20-minute maximum. Lovely. Crack on.
Not all of them were 20 minutes.
No, I know.
Just the venom in your eyes then. I know everyone else couldn't see that, but she looked absolutely livid.
Yeah.
When Tito does eventually release the hold, we hear him do another Arriba in the ring. And so ends match 1, the very first match of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Long may it live in the memory of those that were there, potentially, that are still alive. We now go back to everyone's favourite Alfred Hayes.
Yes.
Backstage. We head back there, nervous-looking Lordship, who tees us up for the upcoming match. That's about it.
Yeah,
but again, it's like he's watching tennis. He's watching a tennis game that we can't see.
He's looking from side to side, anywhere but the camera.
But I don't think it's necessarily because he doesn't want to look at the camera. It's because he's looking who's coming into his vision. Because he's standing in the entrance.
Yes, I know. And which, I mean, at this point, I don't think it was a thing. But in the next couple, it was a real issue. And I was like, what's going on there? And this is what made me feel sad for him.
Yes. I found it very entertaining though. It was one of the
it was
bright
very funny,
spots,
but
bright points of the card for me. And then we go immediately from Hayes, who's teeing it up, to Gene Oakland, who's interviewing SD Jones. So this is the first time you've met SD Jones, I imagine.
Yes. Special Delivery Jones.
I was going to say, my first question was, what does Special Delivery stand for? And then I realised that, what does Special Delivery stand for?
What does SD stand for?
What does SD stand for? Then they said, Special Delivery Jones. And then, my question to him is a very simple one. Where the fuck do you think the camera is? He's looking off into a different zip code. Like, the camera's dead on. Gene knows where it is. And I want to be harsher on Mr. Jones here, but it makes sense when we see what happens after he's finished his little promo.
Okay.
So, Special Delivery basically says he's ready to get down with the biggest thing in town, which I didn't know if that's a sex thing or...
Well, not when you see who's there.
Well, I assume he was talking about King Kong Bundy.
Mm-hmm.
So 3 shit interviews is what I finished that one with. And then we see King Kong Bundy walk into screen. So this is the first time we see it, but it is not the only time we see it on the show when they're doing the interviews, is that one person's being interviewed, they walk off in the same room at the same time. The person they're having, they should need to
Why
be
is there
pulled
no kick
apart.
off? Like, I did a thing. Oh, maybe I did a thing.
I think, yeah.
I did think later on, maybe there'll be like a confrontation.
No.
It's just a bit odd.
But what I thought was mad was they knew that they were going to do these interviews. They knew that there were going to be tight time constraints.
Yes.
Why did they not think, let's pre-tape these? Because I don't think the end result...
Did they not? I'm sure, didn't they say some were pre-recorded?
They might have said it, but the first ones definitely were. And do you know what's even worse about that? They were shit. Was that the best take?
Okay, yeah.
Or was it just a one-take job?
Fair point.
I am a big leaguer. Great. Start that again. That's shit. But I just thought it was odd just to see someone walk in, someone walk out. And now I'm giving SD Jones a little bit of credit here because I think he was looking at Bundy as he was talking.
Oh, I see.
Because I just thought...
Let's say that.
Yeah, let's go with that because that's the only way I can get on with it. So yeah, King Kong Bundy walks onto screen. Fucking massive cream puff egg looking motherfucker.
God.
Says he'll get a 5 count. That was King Kong Bundy's thing. He would beat someone down, which Big E later took in WWE, that he would pin someone for the count of 5.
Yeah.
He makes a point of saying he's going to get a 5 count. He didn't.
No.
Spoiler alert. Come on, he made a whole big song and dance about it. I'm going to get a 5. You don't know. And then, fortunately, we go straight to the in-ring match itself between SD Jones and King Kong Bundy, who's with Jimmy Hart.
I'm going to be clear to you here. I have 4 bullet points, 2 of which don't really relate to the match whatsoever.
Please kick off with yours.
One of which, I could have said it before, the ropes on these rings are so loose compared to what they are now. There were many times throughout this whole thing I did think someone's just going to topple out just from rope running.
And there's some big boys.
Oh, very large.
Big girthy biatches
Yes.
on this card.
Was
And
concerned. It didn't look exactly sturdy, shall we say.
no, and there's someone who does take a bump later on who lands in a very uncomfortable way, but I don't think that's the ropes fault. I think that's just because he's a bit... Let's just say he can't colour in the lines, I don't think. He just... The way... I definitely write about it later.
Yeah.
So that's one point you've got down. How did you drag the... I only had 4 points on this match, and I'm usually the one that goes into detail.
Well, I also then said the whole WrestleMania gives me very indie show vibes.
Because of the way it's been lit.
The crowd is dark, ring is lit. Wasn't mad at it. Quite liked it. However, also indie vibes by the fact that people are just walking around that ring.
Yes.
There's many occasions where people were just walking past.
And you see the amount of press as well that were at ringside. It was a big thing because it made like
busy
national news. Yeah, very busy. I think a lot of the older shows, that was the done thing.
Mm.
You would dim the lights on the crowd, have the spotlights on the action in the ring. And this wasn't even just like a wrestling thing. Like if you ever see any old boxing fights, not that
I was going to say, it did remind me a bit of even boxing now. Like you've got people round the outside, as you know, as best said by Eminem, but round the outside. But yeah, I don't know. It was the walking round for me was strange. And then when people hit the floor, they're just smashing onto concrete. There's no like protective flooring.
It's a bit rugged, rough and ready, isn't it? It's
rough around the edges.
Yeah, very much so. And I think you'll see the production value go up leaps and bounds.
Right, okay.
I don't think you'll notice it too much in the next WrestleMania.
No.
But by the time we get to 3, it's got a very different feel to it.
You can see the money.
100%.
Okay.
100%. Especially given the size of the venue
for
WrestleMania 3. So the match.
Yes.
Holly.
Hello.
Well, I say match.
Yes.
Thoughts on Bundy's singlet?
I just, honestly, there's a lot of... I mean, I'm no oil painting, whatever, but there's a lot of people in this event I would have requested wore more gloves.
I would ask him to wear more eyebrows as well, because he was proper egging.
Oh.
There was not a single follicle coming from this man anywhere that I could see.
No.
Have you ever seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Oh, I mean, a couple of times.
If I say Quang...
No.
So there was a big white body with a little pink brain that was controlling it in there.
Yes.
The body, take away the abs-looking part of it. In my head, that's King Kong Bundy. Just an amorphous blob of a man.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah.
So yeah, he came up through the Texas territory when he was young, and he had hair, and it was just weird. I've seen clips of his matches from the early '80s with the Von Erichs, who there's an upcoming film about to be released about. And seeing him with hair is weird because he'd wear basically jeans but with like a singlet underneath it.
Okay.
It's just odd. It's just an odd combination of things going on here. So I can't believe I'm about to say this, but this is probably his best look in his career ever.
Okay.
Which it's not a high bar, not a high bar at all.
Okay.
So we start off and Jones hits the ropes but runs right into a bear hug and ram into the corner combo.
Yeah.
Avalanche, and then a splash follows, and that's all she wrote.
Boom.
Again, I don't think you'd probably be unhappy about that.
No, although according to Google, it's said that this match is only 9 seconds long. It's not. It's 17.
I'm glad you said that, because the announcers keep reiterating the record-setting time being 9 seconds allegedly.
Yeah.
But I'm calling bullshit because I can count.
Yeah, it's definitely not 9 seconds.
No.
I mean, whether Google's true or not, but they said it was 17. So
that's just absolutely not true. No, I believe, I believe that's... If you said 25 seconds, I'd have believed you. Mm-hmm. But they kept making the point over
it was
over again.
I thought... and I actually only found this out because I was Googling King Kong Bundy. And
did you see what TV show he appeared in?
No, I did not.
My Wife and Kids, I think it is.
I love that. How did I not know that?
He had a...
Oh, okay. But then when I watched it, I wouldn't have known who the hell he was.
Kids. So. That's right, isn't it?
I don't know.
It's like in the 80s, 90s American TV show.
No, I don't think it's My Wife and Kids. Then.
No, that's the guy with one of the Wayans brothers, isn't it? Yeah. No, that didn't sound right when I said it. All My Children?
It could be.
All My Children. We'll go
Again,
with that.
I wouldn't have known.
Someone could fact check
It's very
me.
American, I think.
It is, yeah. It's not something that's made its way over here. But he was a special one-off character in that. And so we see King Kong Bundy with the alleged WrestleMania record of a 9-second pinfall. We'll allow that carny bullshit to slide on this one. And then we go backstage once more to Mean Gene Okerlund.
Before we go backstage.
Okay.
Do you know why he's never been inducted?
King Kong Bundy?
Yeah.
I feel like I might have heard it in passing, but I don't know it to hand. So you're about to
This was my
me?
Googling.
Okay, so tell me, why wasn't King Kong Bundy inducted into the Hall of Fame?
According to Wikipedia, it says that he basically was involved in a lawsuit against WWF in relation to wrestlers and injuries and how they weren't looked after properly and trying to push that forwards. And it says that his involvement in that case is the likely reason why he was never inducted.
I did not know that. I feel like with King Kong Bundy it might be they just weren't providing him enough meat on which to feast. And that classed as an injury claim. Again,
I take this all off the internet, but it's Wikipedia, so...
It makes sense because when I look back on his career, he plays a key part in the next WrestleMania as well.
Okay.
It feels like he's worthy as any other person.
Yeah.
Well, not any other person, but a lot of the people that have gone in there. I don't see why he wouldn't justify a place.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think I had heard something like that before, but I'm glad that you're bringing some of the education to the table. I think that's very impressive.
I did have to force some Googling through, especially that one. I was like, if I don't do Googling, I've got nothing to say.
I mean, to be fair, in a 9-second match, what do you think I'm going to drag out? I mean, we've managed to talk about this about 15 times the length of the actual thing.
I know.
Yeah, so again, that was great. More of that. Love that.
Thank you.
Gene Okerlund is backstage interviewing Matt Bourne. Now, I've got an interesting fact about Matt Bourne.
Oh, okay.
So, Matt Bourne, I can't remember if he had sunglasses on.
Well, my notes say sunglasses inside. It doesn't say who, but I'm very angry because I put 3 exclamation marks.
Then yes, it was Matt Bourne.
Okay.
So, Matt Bourne was the man who played the very first iteration of Doink the Clown.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard of Doink the Clown?
Yes, I have.
Seen Doink the Clown?
Yes.
So, what became of Doink the Clown? It started off as a very grimy, gritty, kind of It-like character, where it was like a full-on villain, scary dude.
Okay, and then
it went very kiddie-friendly, cream pies to the face, that kind of stuff. But Matt Bourne was the original Doink, and he played it so well. He had a lot of drug issues.
Right.
So he left the WWF not long after being Doink, so he wasn't Doink for very long.
Yeah.
But I think there was no trademark on it, and Doink the Clown appeared in lots of different independent promotions because WWF couldn't stop them doing it. I think they'd asked people to stop doing it, but it didn't stop them doing it.
But if it's not trademarked...
But Matt Bourne appeared in several shows as Doink the Clown. I think he even did it in ECW, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. But he did it by far the best because he was a very good character actor. He wasn't a bad wrestler, but his character acting was brilliant, and he really brought Doink the Clown to life. I think he was slightly before my time of watching it. I remember watching Doink the Clown, but when I was watching it, he was already the kid-friendly version.
Right.
I don't really remember Matt Bourne's version. But yeah, just thought that was quite interesting to let you know.
Always.
So, sunglasses indoors means that Holly is an instant fan of the future and original Doink the Clown. 4th of 5 interviews to flub what they say. Bourne says he'll win as Steamboat is too nice.
Yes. Yes.
Just, I mean, if that's what you're
make
saying,
sense.
Please, give me more than that. Such a surreal interview setup, and this is where I mentioned about one person walking in, one person walking out. So we then see Steamboat starts looking at whatever the fuck SD Jones was earlier, leaves it off there, and then he kind of drags his attention back to the camera. The Dragon says that he'll show how mean he can be tonight. Ooh, scary. I mean, what is this?
I know.
Imagine having a feud over, you're too nice, no, I can be mean. It just seems very pathetic. So I imagine you were fully ready for this upcoming match. I was
thrilled. On the edge of your seat stuff this was for me.
So we go to the match.
Yes.
Matt Bourne against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. I thought this was a nice little aesthetic, and you might have picked up on this yourself.
The gear.
Please.
Yeah. Of course I noticed the gear.
What you got?
I just put it's a nice contrast for me. The face being in white, like the angelic kind of colour, I guess. And then the heel being in black.
Exactly what I put pretty much. I put the face wearing white, heel wearing black. Clear distinction between the two.
Absolutely.
For Holly, that will help.
Absolutely, for sure.
I assume you know about Ricky Steamboat, though, to a point.
See, him I did know about, but I've not seen, obviously, some stuff, but I know his name, and I'd seen clips and stuff, and then, but for me it cemented it when he goes, like, the crowd reaction, for me, cemented Oh, okay. They love him.
Yeah, so Ricky the Dragon Steamboat is a lifelong babyface. I don't think he's ever worked heel, at least on a main stage. He was probably one of the best in-ring workers in the 80s.
Okay.
Not the most charismatic promo. It wasn't the worst one we've seen on the night, that's for damn sure. But he was one of, unquestionably, the best in-ring wrestlers of the 80s. He had a big feud with Ric Flair that he eventually won the NWA World title from him. His time in WWF, he had a couple key moments, WrestleMania 3 being one of them, which was really good. And other than that, they kind of turned him, as they do with everyone else, Vince needs to put his own stamp on him. So instead of just allowing him to be what we see here, he actually kind of not made him a dragon costume, because that sounds silly, but he had this kind of Aztec headgear, and they had like this kind of, I guess wings is the only way I can describe it. It didn't look quite like wings, but it's when you put your arms out, it kind of looked like he had a wingspan, and he'd come out and he'd blow fire. Okay. Because he's the dragon.
Oh, I see.
Stupid. Just let him be. So he got overly gimmicks, and most of his best work was done in NWA and WCW, Jim Crockett promotions. That was his big stuff. But he also came back, and we'll see this down the line, and had a WrestleMania match when he was in his 50s with Chris Jericho.
Oh, really?
Around the time, do you remember the film The Wrestler?
How do I not know that?
Came out. So about 2009?
Yes.
So he had a match then. I won't spoil anything for you.
We'll get there.
Eventually, in about a year's time, the way that we're doing these. But yeah, it was interesting. So that's a bit of background on.
You.
Are you finding these helpful? Because I don't want to be just throwing. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I don't want.
You'll see when I'm not. My eyes will glaze over. This is interesting.
Or you'll tune out, and I can usually gauge when you've tuned out. So I'll try and read the room.
It's interesting.
Okay. So Steamboat shows his athleticism immediately with two beautiful leapfrogs before connecting with a stiff martial arts chop at the second time of asking.
Oh, that's what that is then.
Well they call it a martial arts chop. It's a chop.
So I've written down a knife edge question mark.
Knife edge chop?
Is that what that is?
Okay,
cool.
Yeah, because basically when they call it a knife edge, it's because you're using like the sharp part of your hand, I guess, if it was a knife. Again, I've hit the microphone there. But because Ricky Dragon Steamboat has got martial arts background, which he doesn't, as far as I'm aware, when he throws a chop, it's a martial arts chop.
Oh, I see.
Because basically anything in the 80s, and it's more stereotypical in an American promotion when it's a Japanese worker, anything they throw like that is, because they've got a martial arts background, because it's the land that's mystical and magical, and it's a bit of a stereotype. So anyone that had any kind of martial arts alleged background, it's like how we said in a street fight, they call it a rear naked choke. Oh, yes. And then in an actual wrestling match, they'll say sleeper hold. It's that kind of nonsense. So the dragon lands perfectly on his feet, reversing a back suplex, which we don't often see. When you see them reverse out of it, he landed perfect. Yeah. Didn't stumble, didn't do anything wrong. No. Great. And then connects with an atomic drop. Now, how do you feel about the atomic drop? And now I'm going to explain the move to you, because based on your face, you're not convinced of what it is.
No, because I also clearly haven't noted it down.
So an atomic drop is, let's say you were standing in front of me. Yes. You put your arm round my neck. Yes. I grab you like that, put one hand under your leg, lift you up in the air, and then drop you arse first on the knee. Oh, that. Oh, that's what that is. What do you think of that as a move? Yeah. Be honest. You're in a safe environment, be honest. It's shit. I don't like it. What would that do? That would give you... Sore arse? Yeah, because you, in theory, and it depends on how people sell it. Because if people kind of get up and like they grab their arse and start walking around like they've just been punched in the arse, believable. Yeah. There's a one sell later for the atomic drop, which is bollocks. Like he gets hit with it and then just falls to the ground like his legs are made of noodles. Oh, yes, I remember. I know where you... Yes, That sell. And to be fair, even though it wasn't a good sell of that move, it was a good sell because I believed he was actually fucked. Yeah. But I've never been a fan of this move. No. It looks silly. So I don't quite know what I've written here, but I've got Stanky Leg by Ricky. Yeah, so I think he was throwing his leg around in fanciful shapes. Yeah. Before returning to a side headlock. And that was the theme of a lot of these matches. I've put, good, another headlock. Randy Orton's taking notes. A brief fight back by Bourne before Steamboat applies a third side headlock. And one vocal fan loudly shouts, "Boring!" Yes. Just one, but it carries... But it really does. It carries so beautifully. It really does. So beautifully. Belly-to-belly suplex by Bourne, who then cold
Yeah.
cocks the Dragon to the jaw while he's lying down. Again, effective.
Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
Like that. Nice suplex by the Maniac. Matt Bourne, obviously his nickname being the
Mm-hmm.
Maniac. I forgot to mention that earlier. But the commentary explains why he won't get the win here. So I thought that was interesting, because obviously it means nothing to those in the arena. But after the suplex, he went for a cover, and the commentator's like, oh, why is he going for a pin here? That's never going to work. Well, I don't know. Back then, a suplex might have finished a match.
Yeah.
I
Who
don't
knows?
know if because at first I went, oh, that's quite interesting. Because I think they explained a bit of the logic to say, oh, he hasn't been worn down enough.
Yeah.
And I think, it was Gorilla that said that, and then Ventura came out with a comment and said, he said, but 2.5, there's not much difference between 2.5 and a 3. So if you think he got 2.5, how close was he actually to getting the win? Why was it not worth a try?
Fair point.
Yeah, fair point.
Win is a win.
Yep. An exchange of blows lead to a back suplex and swinging net breaker from Steamboat. I like that. Lovely swinging net breaker. Running knee drop, make it 2. A smooth running exchange ends with the Dragon hitting a double throat thrust, is what I think they said it was. But
okay.
it didn't look like he did anything. It looked like he kind of did a flying Glaswegian kiss, if I'm being
Like a
honest.
flying headbutt.
Yeah, because even on the replay, because we see it from behind Steamboat
Yes.
as he takes off, so it looks like he just cracks heads with
Yeah.
him. From the side angle, I'm still not entirely sure what it was. It looked like he just pushed him in the chest. Top rope, flying crossbody by Steamboat leads to the 1, the 2 and the 3.
Yeah.
And we hear a wonderful call after a knee drop, which I felt the need to actually go back and write. And this was a Gorilla Monsoonism.
Okay.
And it's technically a shoot. What you're saying is right here, but it's a ridiculous way of saying it. So if someone hit you with a knee in the head, you say, oh, been hit with a knee in the head.
Yeah.
If you're Gorilla, you say the external occipital protuberance.
Jesus Christ.
And I love that.
It's factual.
I looked it up, it is factual. It's actually true, but yeah, no.
No.
And I put AKA the best way to describe the back of the head. So from now on, every chance I get to say the back of the head, I'm going to say the external occipital protuberance.
Okay.
And hopefully I remember, because it's only written on this page. And Ricky the Dragon Steamboat wins the match.
Yep.
In terms of the content of the match, compared with what's come before it, this was levels above, I thought.
Oh, for sure.
And
Sorry.
you were so happy you punched the
sorry.
living shit out of the
Gosh.
microphone.
Yeah, I know.
I will be honest,
Yeah.
and not to give the game away what we got later in the card,
Oh, was this your fave?
I think it's probably my match of the night.
Okay.
I can't...
Mine wasn't. This one.
I'm trying to think of what else comes.
The last
Certainly, I remember...
Because it was the last one.
Wow.
No,
Wow.
I am joking. I just knew you'd react if I said
That's
that.
tough. That is so tough.
No, that's not true.
Certainly up to this point, it was my match of the night. I
Oh,
remember
absolutely.
thinking
Yeah.
that. Okay. And now we go back to
Oh.
everyone's favourite,
This poor man.
Lord Alfred Hayes. At first, he doesn't actually look awkward. I feel like he's got his sea
No.
legs.
Until...
He looks steady. But then the wrestlers walk by and he falls to pieces.
Absolutely. But I was so confused because I was like, hang on. Is this meant to be happening? He's literally just stood in the corridor. Why would you stand him there when you know people are going to be walking in and out?
Did you see the look on, I don't know if it was Ricky Steamboat's face,
Yes.
where he's like, am I
meant
supposed to be
walk through
walking here?
Yeah.
And But
So
like I said,
weird.
the one time I'm like, you've got this, Al. I believe in you.
Yeah.
You're the hero of this.
And he gets screwed over.
Immediately falls to pieces.
Livid.
There's one later which he
Oh.
absolutely... it's my
Yeah.
favourite moment of the entire show, if I'm being honest.
But this really solidified for me. Screw all the wrestlers and celebrities that are in this. This guy is my favourite guy. I just wanted to hug him.
Oh, he's great, isn't he? So we then go to Gene Oakland, where he's interviewing David Sammartino.
This gave me a headache.
Okay. Why did it give you a headache?
It's chaos.
It is chaos.
Absolute pure chaos, but not in a good way for me.
So, I'm going to give you a bit of background on this.
Okay.
So, David Sammartino was there with his dad, Bruno.
Yes.
You've heard the name Bruno Sammartino
I
before.
have, yes.
Bruno Sammartino, even to this day, is the longest reigning WWF champion of all time. This stems from the 60s. He had 2 reigns, one in the 60s, one that went into the 70s. One of his reigns, I believe, was 9 years.
Oh, wow.
And he was
9
in...
years.
Yeah, so in New York and in the
God.
northeast territories of the United States, there's a large immigrant community from various parts of Europe, because if you think about travelling over to the States by boat, which what everyone would have been doing back then, New York is the first landmass that you're going to hit on the States. So there's a big Italian community there. There's a big German community there, Irish community. So anyone who's got a bit of an ethnic background that's diverse, they'll usually find a lot of people in that area that will associate with a working class individual who's come over as a... I think San Martino, if I'm right in thinking, was born in Italy during the war, and his family, his mum specifically, moved them to a mountainous range where the Nazis just weren't going to kind of pull people out of the crowd, and they eventually came over to the United States. He was a very small boy, and then he just got bigger and bigger and bigger, took the weights. Because even now you look at him, you can tell he's an older man, but you can tell he's a keg.
Yeah, he's got a good physique for an older man.
He had a power lifter's body, is how I describe it. He was a strong man, and that's how he kind of got involved in the wrestling in the first place. He was spotted through there. He had such a big following from the Italian community in New York, Boston, all these areas. And you could even tell when we, again, jumping ahead slightly, when they come out to the ring, he is the loudest reception of the night.
Absolutely, which is amazing, I think.
So David Sammartino,
yes,
it's not even nepotism. So David Sammartino wanted to be a wrestler by all accounts. The WWF had fallen out with Bruno in general, because Bruno was of the era prior to when steroids started to really become a big thing. And Bruno didn't think that was wrestling, that was cheating, that was beneath him. But when you look at the likes of Hulk Hogan, superstar Billy Graham, who we don't see here, but he was a guy that had a match. I think he took the title off Sammartino the second time of asking. Heavy steroid user as well. And Sammartino wanted to distance himself away from the product. He didn't like what it was becoming. WWF wanted him to be part of WrestleMania. They did everything they could to think of to get him at that show because of how important he was to not only the company itself but the fans. They knew that would get a big reaction if they could get Bruno Sammartino on the card. He was never going to wrestle.
No.
They basically, in no uncertain terms, suggested to Bruno, well, if you don't turn up, we're not going to use your boy.
Okay.
So they used the fact that it would hold back David's career.
A bit of a guilt trip type thing.
By him not turning up and doing the managerial side of it. So Bruno didn't really want to be there, but for the benefit of his son's career... he took one. He took one for the team. David Sammartino, he's not in bad shape himself, but he's short.
Yes.
He was never, ever in a million years going to get to anywhere near what his dad was.
Right.
And it's really quite uncomfortable to see, knowing the circumstances around it in the background.
Okay, yeah, see, I would obviously not have a clue.
No, I like to consider myself a relative historian on things. Anything that I love a documentary on wrestling. Teach me stuff I don't know.
Yeah.
So this is something that I've seen. I think it was in a Bruno documentary, or I've seen interviews where he's been asked about this in the past. And Bruno actually didn't die that too long ago. I think it was like 2017, 16. Which was a pretty good innings for a wrestler of that era, especially when you see how young some of them have passed away. And I don't really begrudge Bruno entirely here, but he walks all over David in this interview. Completely takes away from him.
Sure. I think this is also why I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know who I'm meant to be focusing on. I don't know who is the key person here. Because I obviously didn't have that background, of knowing, and so the walls go down, and I just go, I'm just not going to bother. This is too much for me.
And to give as much as I didn't really shit on David because he didn't really have a fair crack at it, but I thought his promo up to the point where he got completely trampled and stampeded by his dad wasn't bad by the comparison of some of the ones that had come before it. And his dad completely overshadows him as soon as... And what's annoying was Bruno wasn't teed up. I can only assume that they knew they had such a small window to get everything in. Bruno was like, I know I need to say something, and he's going on too long. I'm going to jump in over him. But it completely steamrolled him. And I just felt bad for David. I really did.
Yeah, fair play.
And then we see luscious Johnny Valiant.
Oh, okay.
In the sparkly jacket, coming out with his boy Brutus Beefcake. Brutus Beefcake you might have heard of before. He was known as the Brutus the Barber Beefcake. You may have heard that name.
I had, but I also Googled.
Okay.
I Googled him, and that's where it told me the story of how originally he was billed as Hogan's brother.
Oh, Ed Boulder, wasn't it?
It was very confusing.
Yeah, so he is like Hulk Hogan's, I don't want to say best friend now, but he was definitely his best friend within the business.
Yeah, it said they they trained, and then they were like, oh, let's bill him as being your brother. And then it said that later on that caused a mass confusion for fans when they obviously stopped doing that.
Yeah, and so Ed Leslie is the guy's real name. He basically always had a job. If Hogan was in a company, Ed Leslie would have a job.
See.
Whether it was in, and he would always get used above maybe where he should have been slotted on the card.
It's not
he was
what
never
you know,
a main,
it's who you know.
Yeah, he was never a main event talent.
Okay.
Upper mid card at one point, I'd say, is
Yeah.
fine, and it wasn't too long after this era where he probably fell into that kind of area. But even in WCW later on, and I don't know if you looked up, did you see about Ed Leslie's incident that happened with his face?
See, it came up, and it did. I did start, and then I was like, I can't. This is too long.
I'll save that story.
I stopped not concentrating on the match at that point.
I'm going to save that story for around about WrestleMania 9 because I think that's not too long after it had actually happened.
Oh, okay, cool.
Or after he'd recovered from it,
Yes.
I should say. But yeah, that's who Brutus Beefcake is. And Pat Patterson, who we've discussed previously, was Vince McMahon's right-hand man on a lot of the booking decisions. What he did as, again, obviously there were gay wrestlers before Pat Patterson, but Pat Patterson was one of the first that was widely accepted at the level that he was. That isn't to say that there weren't others that came before him. And interestingly enough, so the way that Pat Patterson felt comfortable in talking about his sexuality was that he'd make a joke about it before you could show that he was comfortable with it.
Yeah.
It's not a serious thing. It's not an issue. And it's sad that, he felt the need to do that.
Yeah.
It was a different era.
Of course.
I've got to take that into consideration. But one thing he would often do when helping create the character of a bad guy was that he would try and do things to get the bad guys to get homosexual slurs thrown at them, because that was a heelish thing to do. And it was very strange. And Brutus Beefcake was one of them. When they turned him into the barber, that was supposed to be, from what I've read and heard, was supposed to be like a homosexual thing that was done to get heat, because if you're gay, that's not normal, that's wrong.
Right.
Again, different era, but that was
that's
a lot
so
of the,
strange to think about. Obviously, in our world,
because it's.
strange.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still people in society that just are stuck in their ways, antiquated, stupid for lack of a better term. But it's interesting to see how different people coped with it, and that was Pat Patterson's way of coping with it. So this was before the barber gimmick, but I thought it was interesting enough to raise here. So, Luscious Johnny Valiant, I think he's cutting a decent promo. You can tell there's a natural charisma there in him. Former wrestler himself, makes sense. He's got a bit of flamboyancy about him. But then he turns his back to the camera, which I'm okay with, because I say you're above them, I don't need to look at them. And this is something that Hulk Hogan, when he was a heel before he became Hulk Hogan, used to do. He would just turn his back to the camera and not say anything, which was quite interesting. But there's a moment, and it lasts a little bit too long, and it completely fucking tears it up, where Gene then asks Brutus a question, and Brutus is not supposed to answer anything, but Johnny doesn't cut him off quick enough, so he puts the camera in front of him. There's that pause like I've just done there, and Brutus goes,
oh yeah, that's so dumb.
And Johnny goes, I don't want him talking to you, I do the talking for him. And I just thought, had he just not done the raspberry, fine.
Just stay silent.
Not a bad promo, fine. Sadly, we end with a raspberry. We go to the match. Brutus Beefcake with Luscious Johnny Valiant against David Sammartino with Bruno Sammartino. And talk about the crowd reception.
It was ridiculous.
This is something that we just won't get really in wrestling these days. For something so simple, don't get me wrong, we get the occasional
you
big
get the
reaction.
big pops for certain people, but nothing like that.
Not like that. And it wasn't like a women's, like you need to say, Roman Reigns comes out with Randy Orton, you get that high
it was
pitch.
It was everybody.
It was a collective, and it was great. And it was that kind of atmosphere that makes it feel big time. It's the first time on the night where I felt like this is something to be taken seriously. I kind of get it. David Sammartino, first to not be already in the ring for introductions. And that's purely so that he and his dad can come out and you can get that reception live on camera. I said Bruno getting a far warmer reception than his son did on this night, or he ever would.
Of course.
Takes an age for them to lock up.
Doesn't it just?
But I'm quite grateful because I was still doing notes on the interview bit that just come before it. So it allowed me opportunity to bring myself up to speed, because they teased it, stepped away. Tease it, stepped away, and so on and so forth. Jesse came out with an interesting statement here on commentary. He said, Whoever loses here is going to have their career set back 6 to 12 months, potentially even 18.
That's very specific.
So he's trying to imply that the importance of a WrestleMania match, by losing, it sets you so far back in your career progression. But it's such an overly specific pile of shit.
Very specific. 18 months.
Yeah, or potentially even 18 months.
Crazy.
I don't know who's deciding that. Who decides how far it goes back, actually? Is there a committee for that?
Yeah, maybe.
Vince McMahon just goes, sorry, pal, I think that's going to be 12 months for you. That's number 5, is that?
That is very good, yeah.
It's not quite husky enough, but I'll get there. It's something that we'll fine-tune. Brutus gets overzealous and runs into a drop toe hold. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. Simple moves. Whilst the two exchange holds, we get a picture-in-picture of Bruno, and again, you know that this is the selling point of this match. Yeah. And it's not the only time that they do the picture-in-picture on Bruno. What do you think about the picture-in-picture? Did it feel ahead of its time?
Ahead of its time? Probably. I don't know, because I wasn't alive.
True, and I guess you haven't got anything to compare it with out of the old stuff. But for me, that felt like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, oh, that's interesting. But also, stop making the picture even smaller. It was already hard enough trying to watch it through a letterbox on the telly as it was.
I think that's just maybe... How big's your TV again?
Not big, I'm aware.
What's the inchage?
I don't know. It's not big enough to measure.
I've been telling women that for years. Front face look from David, and once more Bruno is referenced. Beefcake body slams David to escape a straight armbar, but Sammartino holds on. Lengthy side headlock as Gorilla spouts nonsense about game plans. He said something to the effect of, and I'm not going to be doing it verbatim because I didn't write it down because quite frankly it was so stupid I nearly passed out. He said, what I always wanted to do, Jess, is make sure that I was dictating and implementing my game plan. Don't use the opponent's game plan, and if you can't do either, just wing it. What?
I'm glad I didn't pick up on that.
So he's saying either I want to do my game plan, I don't want to do theirs,
right?
But if I can't do my game plan or their game plan, we'll just wing it.
Okay.
You know it's scripted.
It's very confusing.
It was one of those ones where you try and make it sound like a sporting... He tries to put like a sporting spin and metaphor on it, and it just didn't land.
No.
Didn't land at all. Came across as absolute bollocks. Shoulder block and hip toss by Brutus, but he's taken down with another drop toe hold. And then various leg locks by Sammartino, including a spinning toe hold follows, which is like, it looks like the setup for a figure 4 leg lock, but he doesn't actually apply it. Eye rake by Brutus results in a back body drop, and then a fist drop and then body slam. As David absorbs punishment, we see Bruno on screen in screen yet again.
Yep, of course.
After a succession of elbows in the corner, David counters an Irish whip and hits a back body drop. Pace quickens. And David hits a suplex for a 2 before Brutus sends him to the floor.
Yep.
And this is where we see some shenanigans.
Yes, don't we just?
Now, I know that you're a big fan of manager involvement.
No, I love it. Give it more.
And what do we see Luscious Johnny do?
At this point, I don't remember, because there was more than one thing every time. I knew every time someone had a fucking manager there, honestly. Just annoyed me so much. I remember the end of this because it's just stupid.
So we see Luscious Johnny body slam David on the cement, which can't be nice.
Oh yeah.
But gets attacked by Bruno, and the crowd
erupt.
That.
Yes, they loved it.
Erupt. Mad. The fight continues into the ring, and the ref calls the match off as the heels escape.
Oh yeah.
So a no contest, double disqualification.
It's so ridiculous.
I don't see how it's a double disqualification, because...
Surely one person does it first.
Exactly this. Valiant body slammed David Sammartino.
So
didn't try and hide it.
Bosh. Done.
Exactly. Bruno was doing a retaliatory action.
Ludicrous.
I will be honest again, by the standard, not a bad match on the night.
Yeah, I didn't mind it, I'll be honest. I got a little bit annoyed towards the end, obviously.
You always do with manager involvement.
But, of course, absolutely. But I didn't mind it. I thought this one actually was more amusing than anything, because even at the beginning, when the match starts, it's like Brutus is there going, he's got grease on him. And I thought, this is actually mildly entertaining.
It's a bit more, I don't want to say slapstick.
Yes.
Although there is a moment of slapstick later in the show that we see. And then, where do we go after this match, Holly?
Where do we go? Do we go back to our friend?
We go back to our friend, Mr. I'm taking his lordship away.
Before we go
him.
back, would you like an age check?
Absolutely would like an age check.
So, David
Yeah.
was 25.
Okay, yeah, I could, yeah.
And Brutus was 28. Both looking easily in their 40s.
Brutus for sure. David kind of has the puppy...
It's the coiffed.
It's
the hair. I mean, I get it at the time, and also, like, great, lovely, luscious locks. But men having a blow dry like that, it does
blow
make
what?
it... Blow dry.
Right.
Give over. Does make, to me, ages.
It
Ages
does.
them.
It does. It dates it.
Everyone in that era looked old.
Yeah, it's like the school photos that they do in high school.
Yes.
The class, everyone's kind of side on to the camera with coiffed hair, glasses and braces often.
Everyone's looking 30, but you're actually only like 14, 15.
Yeah, waiting for life to begin.
Yeah.
Your life is over, bitch. Like, this is, you peaked. So we go back to our boy, Alfred Hayes, who... So Gorilla and Jess recap what we've seen. So almost like they're trying to kill time.
Yeah.
So Gorilla then goes to pass it over to Al Hayes, but they kind of end up... Like, Al misses his cue. He thinks he's getting it earlier than he is.
Yeah.
And starts talking, but yet you can hear him in the background, because obviously they're not ready to go live with him. And Gorilla comes out with another wonderful bit of phraseology here. He says that the main event will be the confrontation of all time. What?
Just the confrontation.
Yeah, there's never been a confrontation before this confrontation.
No.
The greatest, the biggest, We're missing a descriptive word here, Gorilla. Get back to me on that one, because I feel like you've missed... Maybe he just doesn't know that word. So I feel like he's missed it out of every opportunity that he's had.
Or maybe he's been given a max word count. So
I love
just
that.
Been off the...
Yeah.
A couple of times.
Oh no, he got the. The was fine. He started it with the.
Just the confrontation.
So Alfred misses his cue, starts talking before they cut to him. It's eventually then cut to him.
Yeah.
And then they cut him off.
I know.
He hadn't finished.
I know.
Oh, it's just great. It was just the gag that kept on giving in this show. It was brilliant. It was a nice thread that ran throughout the event.
It kind of actually became what I looked forward to.
Yeah. And you knew you were getting it after every match.
Yeah.
Again, still not reached my highlight with him yet.
No.
I bet it's the same thing.
I think I know where it's coming.
I bet it's the same thing. Actually, there's two. His two favourite moments are yet to come. So Gene interviews Greg Valentine, and the mullet wins the best promo of the night so far for me.
That is a coiffed mullet.
It is sensational.
Isn't it just?
Sensational. And he basically says he's going to win because he talks about hitting the hardest, and I'm guessing that's a play on the fact his nickname is the Hammer.
Oh, went right over my head.
Now, one of the most nonsensical things of the night follows this up.
Okay.
We see Junkyard Dog.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Junkyard Dog before?
No, I hadn't until this point.
So, partway through his promo, I can only describe it as him having a conniption or a seizure of some kind.
Okay.
Because I think I wrote it down, talking about bones, so because he's a dog, so dogs like bones.
But he's not a dog.
And he just comes out with this weird, so you see halfway through it. And like, are you okay?
Yes.
It was just the mid-sentence, and then went back to the promo.
Is that number 6 as well?
But that
it was odd.
And I was like...
This is why I think people are unhinged when I was watching this.
You can't be normal to be a wrestler.
Honestly, it's crazy.
Normal people
also,
do not
you're
fit
not a
this world.
dog.
Yeah, he's a junkyard dog.
No, but you're not a dog.
No, but he's the junkyard dog, and they like bones.
So silly.
And then they reference in commentary later about dog food, and it's ridiculous. Yeah. You're not actually, though.
No.
But yeah, I'll be honest. Going into the show, when I wrote this down, I knew I was going to slip into an impression of that one. That's the only one I thought I was actually going to do, because it's
did you know you'd already cracked out some by this point,
so to speak. Yeah, I mean, there's not many people I haven't.
Sorry,
you said that.
Sorry.
Just to be clear, I have not. Okay, so Junkyard Dog cuts just a bizarre promo, and we go to the match.
But
Greg Valentine.
Oh, no, you go, because I think I'm cutting in early.
Okay, right. But again, cut me off if you need to. Greg Valentine with Jimmy the Heart. Jimmy the Heart.
Jimmy the Heart.
The mouth of the South Heart is what I was trying to say. Versus Junkyard Dog for the Intercontinental title.
Yes.
I'm waiting for you to cut me off now.
Yeah, I will when it's time.
Right. JYD given music played for his entrance, and he trips as he walks out.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also, why does he get an entrance?
He was a big star.
Was he?
He was.
Okay.
Yeah, in the WWF, he was
at
probably...
this point?
Yes.
Okay.
He did a lot of work in the Mid-Atlantic region.
Right.
Again, one of the territory systems that WWF absolutely pillaged in terms of getting their talent. He was a big star, and I think he was in the Mid-Atlantic area. I think he was made a champion, and he was one of the first black champions in wrestling, and it was, I can't remember the booker that pushed him. Cowboy Bill Watts, I think, was a big fan of him, and he kind of, in terms of the wrestling circle, because everyone had a niche, it was like either, like I said with Bruno Sammartino, it's the immigrant following, or there's
Right.
like, let's be fair, Hulk Hogan, the Great White Hope, that kind
Right,
of.
I see.
And Junkyard Dog was like one of the top
Okay.
black professional wrestlers at the time, and he was so charismatic, even in that promo where it was just drivel. There was a natural charisma that he had.
True.
It was clear to see.
Oh, okay.
So-
It just confused me because up to this point, only one people, make the sense. Only one person had their entrance really
Entrance music wasn't a massive
properly,
thing.
and then all of a sudden, from that point onwards, everyone gets one.
Yeah, so entrances they had, music wasn't a massive thing. One of the, I'm trying to think of, so in the 80s is when entrance music kind of started, but not everyone had it. So in World Class Championship Wrestling, so the Von Erichs territory, they used to come out to music, the Von Erich boys. The Fabulous Freebirds used to come out to music. Hulk Hogan came out to music. I know that Junkyard Dog did have music, but it's difficult to tell. I can't tell if they dubbed this in after the fact rather than played it live. And I think on the main event, I know the answer to that, because I'm pretty sure what we hear is not what was played.
Oh, really?
And I'll tell you that when we get there. So, yeah, he trips over, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah.
It just looks so uncool. And you can see the outline of his penis, which I noted as well.
Yes, you could.
Finkel says that the contest has a 1 hour time limit, and I can feel the blood rush from Holly's body.
Honestly, I thought that was it. I thought my life was done.
Yeah, I imagine.
Awful.
The 46th time Gorilla says WrestleMania is a happening, if you're keeping count.
It's a happening.
It's a happening, Jess. Ducking and diving starts the contest before JYD slaps on an arm lock. So it's not a side headlock, though. We're warming up the rest holds.
We're moving.
Worrying that a rest hold kind of starts the contest. It's not usually a sign that it's going to be good.
No. Was, just out of interest, is it Greg Valentine? Was he any link at all to Ric Flair? Is there any link? Because what I noticed, obviously, he wore the robe. He wears a robe that looks very much so like the Ric Flair robe. His hair is exactly the same. Everyone does the freaking figure four at this point.
So yeah, that was his move as well.
Yeah, and I was like, hang on, is I didn't know if there was a connection or a link or anything.
Greg Valentine's dad was also Johnny Valentine, was a wrestler in his own right, so he's a second generation competitor. I believe he came round in the mid 70s, I want to say. So he might have. I think him and Flair wouldn't have been too far apart when they started, but the
Put them in a ring together. It's like twins.
Well, I guess. I mean, Valentine's a bit more of a chunky boy.
Yes.
Let's be fair.
Yes.
With the robes in wrestling, that's something that's been done for many years.
Oh, is it just an older thing that I just wouldn't have seen?
Yeah, so classical wrestling, so if we're looking back at like the Lou Thez, Carl Gotch era, which I know means nothing to you, but they're early professional wrestling champions from the NWA side, they would come out in like a boxing robe. You know, you see boxers back in the day would come out in those kind of robes, not the flashy sequin stuff, but just almost dressing gown.
Yeah.
That was what people used to do. The first one that and again, probably wrong, but the first one that I remember seeing images of that had more of a fantastical, glamorous approach to it. Bit of pizzazz was Gorgeous George.
Okay.
Gorgeous George was around in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
40s, 50s to be fair. He was very flamboyant, and that's kind of brought in the robe. So if I'm a betting man, a lot of the would have come from Gorgeous George. I think, like I said, if I'm looking at it chronologically, Valentine and Flair started about the same time.
I suppose because my only reference is Flair there.
Yeah, fair. I mean, because that's who you're used to. You might have heard of Valentine before, potentially, but beyond that, you couldn't have picked him out of a lineup. So the hammer misses a fist drop, and the dog hits rushing headbutts from his knees because he's a dog.
Weird.
Yeah.
That's all I wrote. Weird.
You didn't even say what it was, you just put
it's
weird.
It's just weird. I've got all fours, headbutt. Why?
Weird.
Why?
Because he's a dog.
Different dogs don't freaking do that.
Even dogs don't do that.
Not all of them.
Well, goats do, don't they?
Yeah.
Junkyard Goat. The JYG.
It's just a bit odd.
Arm lock by Greg before he clubs JYD off his feet. Valentine works over the legs to soften up for the figure four leg lock. Makes sense. If that's your finishing move, you've got to sort out the legs.
Yeah, true.
And on commentary, they said, I don't know if he'll be able to get it on JYD because he's got thick legs. Okay. I mean, most wrestlers you imagine have thick legs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, okay, leave Randy Orton out of this, okay. You'll get an opportunity to mention him later,
I know,
actually.
I was so happy.
JYD counters the first attempt? Oh, okay, right, so he counters the first attempt at the figure 4 leg lock, but he's limping. Good sell, he's showing that he's suffering the effects. Junkyard fires out of the corner with Fists of Fury. Huge headbutt from JYD, freezes Valentine, who timbers to the canvas. And I love that.
Timbers.
It isn't. Tell me that's not a timber.
Yeah, no, it's a solid timber.
But it's the far off distant look in his eyes and then just face plant. Flair was also one to do that as well, so I can see the tie.
Okay.
JYD grabs Hart, who's being a nuisance, before Valentine accidentally hits his own manager. Now, this is the fall that looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
I rewound it to make sure, because I saw Jimmy Hart on the floor holding the back of his head. I was like, how have you hit the back of your head? But if you look, when Valentine hits him, when he goes to fall, his arse just kind of drops.
Yes.
His feet hit the other side of the ropes.
Yeah.
And do you know what? He's lucky he did, because otherwise he would have really cracked it. I think he kind of turtle shelled it as he fell.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But that could have caved his head in.
Absolutely.
And also, that's your fault.
Yes.
No one caused you to fall down like that.
Oh,
At
no.
least nothing I saw suggested that it was anyone other than his fault. Just very, very odd. I mean, putting yourself at unnecessary risk as well. So JYD then throws big hands on the Hammer, who pins the dog with his feet all over the ropes.
Oh, yes, I did see. Obviously saw that.
And then Jesse Ventura on commentary is pretty quick to say, the ref didn't see it, doesn't matter, it counts.
Yeah, this is where, I mean, I wasn't mad at this, but this is where I got confused, because I was like, why is this guy back?
Getting to that. So Tito Santana with his wonderfully coiffed hair, now in a dress shirt.
He's got dressed now, he's very smart.
Yep. But again, you know you're coming back out, aren't you, saying your pants?
No, I actually preferred that he was dressed.
Yeah, it's fair, it's weird.
Because he's not...
In
Is
your pins?
In your
Yes,
pins.
South African pins.
Because he's not wrestling.
Fair point.
It's not like,
I'll be honest, I've gone home.
Benoit when he did half a job, took his shirt off but left his dress trousers on and shoes.
He also had beautifully coiffed hair.
Yes.
So Santana runs out and tells the ref what he missed, and apparently that's all it takes.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the people now should note this.
Yeah, 100%.
All you've got to do is just sit back, go outside and go,
No, you missed
actually,
that.
just, like, he had a handful of tights. I think you should go again.
And they pick and choose when they kind of use
of
that
course.
stuff, where someone will come out and say, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
They'll go, oh, okay.
Of course.
It's painful. I hate that kind of bollocks. I would just wish they'd bring this into the football game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just like the crowd go, no, you're wrong, ref, you're a wanker. Oh, sorry, lads.
Offside. Are you sure? Yeah, all right, then. They're saying
Exactly. Bullshit. The ref then decides to restart the match, and because Valentine goes, nah, I won this, I'm bouncing, walks off, he gets counted out. What a mess.
So, you don't win a title then by count out? It's a bit it's just...
That's what I mean.
Stupid.
If he was willing to be pinned, so I can only assume that they wanted the fans to be able to cheer for Junkyard Dog but him not win the title. Why'd you have to have the bit where Valentine pins him at all?
Yeah,
just have
true, actually.
Valentine go, I'm done with this, and
just walk off.
Yeah.
Like, have him struggling and then roll out the ring and bosh, bye.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I was with Valentine, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I was like, well, you won the match. Yes, you cheated. You didn't get caught. It counts.
Yeah, until this guy hopped in and snitched on you.
Yeah, I think that's because they were building to a feud for the Intercontinental title between the two. And I believe it was Santana that actually took the title off Valentine at a later date.
Oh.
So yeah, JYD wins by count out, but does not get the title.
No.
Can't say I got excited about that one, if I'm being honest.
No, I just made a comment about that. I actually really enjoy the shots of the crowd. No one's got a phone out. People are using proper cameras, like old school cameras,
Polaroid,
if they want to take a photo.
Mm-hmm.
I actually really like that.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'm obviously a culprit of using my phone and stuff, but sometimes
you're not that bad.
It's nice to see people just enjoying something because they couldn't have done that back then. Like,
Yeah,
it's
live in
actually
the
just
moment.
quite nice.
Yeah, but you do what I don't have an issue with. So we'll get somewhere and you'll take an early photo and maybe a couple in, but then when I see you recording stuff, you'll check to make sure you're looking at it.
Oh yeah, but I'm actually
you'll look
watching
away.
through my eyes rather than...
I don't have an issue with that.
My eyes are shite, so I probably should watch it through my phone. But
even at Progress, you just took the one picture of the ring. I was like, did you take any other pictures? You went, no, I didn't actually.
Sometimes I just quite like to be in the moment.
Oh, that's nice.
But then the day later I'll go, oh fuck, I should have taken some photos.
No, I agree. I agree with your approach, to be honest.
Thanks.
So where do we go now?
Oh, this guy. Oh.
So we go back to his lordship once more. Alfred Hayes explains the upcoming tag team match. He says, athletes. He tries to say athletes. He went, in this upcoming match, we'll see 4 great athletes who will be competing for the WWF Tag Team titles. So I don't know what an athlete is, but there's 4 of them in this match.
Oh dear.
Gene interviews the Iron Sheik backstage, who is borderline comprehensible, which is good for him. And Gene calls Volkov Commie instead of Comrade, because clever. And we hear the Sheik starting by going, Jin Min! Not Mean Gene, because... So he's... Yeah, but I don't think that's intentional.
Okay.
I think that's just what he does.
Okay.
It was... And then, so, as it goes from Sheik, who's just shouting bollocks, it then goes to Volkov, who's not much more understandable.
No.
And then just as they're cutting away, Sheik starts hulking up and flexing and doing all this weird stuff. So, interesting fact.
Okay.
You might have already known this.
Go on.
He was the man who Hulk Hogan beat to get the WWF title.
Oh, okay.
So, what they did back in the day, and I might have mentioned something like this in passing to you before, is they would always have in their head a long-standing champion, and when they wanted to go between one to the other, because it tended to be one good guy to another good guy, they had to have a transitional phase where a bad guy would take it for a very short period of time and then lose it to the next one.
Just so it wasn't so tedious, I guess.
So they did this with Bruno Sammartino. They had him lose to a guy, I don't think it was Stan Stasiak, now I've said that, but it then was it was a Russian. Can't remember his name, irrelevant to the story. And then it goes to another long-standing champion, and then Iron Sheik took it off Bob Backlund, who'd been champion for about 6 years, I want to say.
Jesus Christ.
And Iron Sheik...
Such a long time.
Iron Sheik had it for about a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
I see.
And then Hulk Hogan.
Before it goes back to another long-stander.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. I couldn't deal with that.
Imagine Roman Reigns having a 9-year title reign.
I'm bored of his reign now, let alone...
Bored of his Roman reign right now.
Oh, no, he could...
See what I did?
He could Roman reign, it's fine.
I didn't even see that setup. I was like, where's she going with this?
No, I can't. I've expressed my thoughts on this previously. I shan't bore anybody.
Well, yeah, I don't think you're boring anyone. I'm finding it fascinating. So after we do the Sheik hulks up, they transition to Barry Windham and Bray Wyatt's daddy.
Right. Help me here.
Yep.
I know Windham and Rotunda.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. Did a little bit of Googling as well, and I found that interesting.
Yep.
Who the fuck is the guy that's got ribbons coming out of his face?
Captain Lou Albano.
Why are there ribbons coming out of his face?
They're not ribbons. You know what they are?
No.
Elastic bands.
Why?
Because he's quirky, Holly.
What the fuck?
He's Cyndi Lauper's dad in that music video.
Honestly, I watched that and I was like, nah, I definitely am seeing things here. And I was like, no, I'm not.
I like the idea of you trying to retune your telly because you can't work out what's going on with this man's face.
I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Weird.
So you knew that was Bray Wyatt's dad?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So what I thought was really strange about this part of the interview, and again, at least they weren't in the same room, these were pre-taped ones, because, I'm jumping ahead of myself.
Okay.
They come out into the screen.
Yes.
Lovely little shoulder rub. Both of them just start, I think it's Windham just giving a little touchy touch to Gene Oakland, and Rotunda's just giving a little touchy touch to Lou Albano, and I just feel uncomfortable.
Oh, really?
Watch it, it looks kind of like, because they're both kind of trying to look serious, but like suave and mysterious. They're kind of doing that like pouty.
Were these guys kind of like, well, I don't know how to say it really.
American heartthrobs?
I guess so, yeah.
Closest to it.
I mean, who did I write down? Windham.
Yeah, blonde.
His eyes were pretty impressive. I mean, he's got eyes, but no, you know what I mean. Like, and I did think in my head, are these guys meant to be like the hot ones?
On the show, yeah.
Yeah,
they weren't really doing the boy band kind of thing quite yet, but that's the closest that you're going to get to
get the women interested with these guys.
Yeah, and to be fair, by the standard of the people on the show, that is probably it.
I mean.
Yeah, because Barry Windham and Rotunda both within 5 years look goddamn awful.
Oh, okay.
Wyndham changed his character. Well, he had several different guises under the WWF, which I won't bore you with here. But he used to always carry a little bit of timber. He was always kind of softer around the middle. Nothing wrong with that.
No.
But here, you're like, oh, actually, you were like kind of looked the part of the wrestler. And unfortunately for both of them, Wyndham had it a little bit more than Rotundo. Wyndham had slightly bit of charisma. Rotundo has none.
Right.
Fine in the ring, but no charisma. and that's not a good combination. So even though they're not referenced to as this in the show, I'm pretty sure they're referred to as the US Express. I think that was their tag team name, but they always just said Wyndham and Rotundo.
Yeah.
We see them, like I said, do the weird shoulder rub, combine 0 charisma, and then we go to the match.
Yeah. Which took a fucking age to start.
Yes, it did, and I kind of, now, having nearly jumped to the point ahead of time, I've now missed the point that I wanted to make.
Oh, okay.
Bearing in mind, they're wearing, like, polo shirt jeans, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay, so Gene says, "Why do you want to say, Wyndham?" And then hands in the microphone. He goes, "We've said everything we want to say. We're going to the ring. We're going to the ring right now."
But strips his clothes off into his pants on the way.
You're wearing your full gear, and then I think they started with Rotundo who said something, and Wyndham just said, "Yeah, no, we're just going to the ring now."
We're not, but
yeah. Okay. Cheers, thanks for that. So they get changed very quickly, like Superman in the phone booth. Now we get the Soviet national anthem.
Before this, it was expressed it was a 1 hour time limit, which again made me very sad.
I think you'll notice the theme with that is title matches. And I think main event probably gets the exception. I don't remember what they announced for that. But yeah, so we hear the Soviet national anthem, and we see
an absolute barrage of stuff being thrown into the ring.
That is why they always think... So Vince is still in the mindset now that being foreign is heat.
Oh, which is why they did those stupid matches
with
that
Rusev,
we've watched,
Jinder Mahal, basically anyone. They even tried it with the Canadians, if you remember.
Oh god, yeah.
Anyone that's not American will get heat because they're foreign and different is weird.
But obviously times have changed. But
yeah, because it worked perfectly back then. They used to do stuff like post-war. They would do a lot of workers that would be, let's say, from Hawaii or Samoa. They'd bill as being Japanese because of how fresh, World War II and Pearl Harbor and all that stuff was. And because it would just get cheap heat. They didn't have to do anything other than being Japanese.
Oh my god.
And like I said, oftentimes, they weren't Japanese.
No. Bloody hell.
But it's, again, like I said, it's if you accept it in the bubble, that's great heat. Great heat.
Yeah, if we take it for what it is.
And after we hear the Soviet national anthem, Sheik takes the microphone and does his usual bit of Iran #1, Russia #1, America, spits. That's standard, that's what he always does.
Okay.
So that wasn't just specifically for this gimmick, that was just his thing. And we see his boots.
With the
curled up toes.
Just reminded me of New Day, I'll be honest.
I realised this when I saw them, because I was like, I'll point that out to Holly, see if she spotted it.
Yep.
Also, he's built like a keg, isn't he?
Yes.
So he was an actual amateur wrestling champion. I think he competed, I don't know if it was at the Olympics, but he definitely competed for the Iran as a nation. He came over to the States and ended up teaching amateur wrestling. I want to say, I don't think it was at university level, but I think it was probably maybe high school. And he was legitimately a strong, natural wrestler. And he was built like a keg.
Yeah.
They were called, I don't know if they're called like Arabian clubs, but they almost look like rolling pins, but really thick weights. And he used to do this kind of rotation weight to show his strength, and then he used to try and get people out of the crowd to show that they couldn't do it.
Oh, I see.
And that was one of his things. And one of his feuds in the 70s was with then WWF champion Bob Backlund, who was the All-American, apple pie and that kind of cookie cutter stuff. And Bob Backlund came out and accepted the challenge when he was the champion. And even he looked like he struggled to begin with, but then he started to do it, and then he got attacked by Sheik. Dropped one on the back of his neck, which he didn't. The weight landed next to him, and then Backlund had to kind of position himself under it to look like he got trapped. And that's how they ended up transitioning the title from Backlund to Sheik, because the Sheik's finishing move is the camel clutch. So he put him in the camel clutch, was pulling back. Even though he didn't tap, his manager threw in the towel because he knew he wasn't going to give up, but he couldn't get out of the hold. And that's how they took the title away from Backlund. Can't remember why I started that story, but I went down a rabbit hole on it, and here we are. Do you feel enlightened? You look thrilled. You look really excited.
Thank you.
So what a cast of lunatics in this match.
Yeah. Just
absolute nutters. So again, what do you make of the elastic band accessories on his face? When now I've told you what they are.
Why?
Well, you might want to fling something.
It's weird to me.
It's part of you not want to put your finger in and pull it. And
Absolutely not.
Okay, no.
No. Honestly, that's one of the things that makes me, literally makes my, when your spine goes a bit like, that's one of the things for me I don't like. It's weird.
So me talking and just the idea of
doing that, no thank you.
Brilliant.
No. Weird. Also, that's a hazard.
It is, yeah. I wouldn't go
If
into
you
a fight
can't
with elastic
wrestle
bands drilled into
wearing
my face.
hoop earrings, then you certainly can't wrestle or be near wrestling with that hanging out your face.
So he did used to wrestle back in the day,
Oh, that's weird.
in the 60s mainly, but then he transitioned to be a manager. And I'm pretty sure I've seen him. I don't know if it was necessarily in this show, but we had one of those, not crocodile clips. What's one of those pins that you can kind of put through clothing that you push it in and then the blade bit comes out, you move it to one side and then you drop it back in place.
Safety pin.
Thank you. He used to have that through his face with stuff hanging off it.
Honestly, it makes me feel sick.
Yeah, I imagine it would. I mean,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be me doing that,
No.
personally. Also, I didn't mention it at the time, but he was definitely holding a beer when he was being interviewed, wasn't he?
Yeah, I do think
Just a
he
little
was.
can on the go.
I mean, I would if that
Yeah.
was me.
I'm on the way to the ring. Pished. Fair play. Just the fucking arrogance as
Yeah,
well.
why
To
not?
go, I'm going to interview holding this, I don't care.
Absolutely.
Loved it. So we see a quick start which sees a big hip toss and drop kick from Rotundo to Sheiky Baby. Tag to Wyndham, who drops a leg to the groin. Fine. Is that not a disqualification though?
I thought so.
Okay. I'm glad we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
Double team from the challengers leads to Sheik missing a drop kick and connecting with Volkov instead. I've never seen Iron Sheik throw a drop kick and terrified me, quite frankly, but he does connect with Volkov.
Mm-hmm.
The heels are dismayed at this. They both they look distraught
Yeah.
with the miscommunication. Near tears, bless them. Rotundo back in and he drops Volkov with a shoulder block. Quick tags from the champs now. They're starting to pick up a little bit of momentum.
Yeah.
Not for long, as Rotundo gets isolated. You have to, if you're going to isolate one of them, you've got to isolate Rotundo because Wyndham just is the bigger dude.
Right.
And they always try and make the smaller guy being the one that's separated from his corner.
Yes, of course.
Big back body drop and gut wrench suplex. I love a gut wrench suplex.
Oh yeah, I actually quite enjoyed that.
Yep. From Sheik. Then Rotundo suplexes Sheik but can't make the tag. We start to hear USA chants.
Mm-hmm.
Blassie and Albano. I forgot. Fred. I never even said that this was for the tag team titles, but yeah, because they had classy Freddie Blassie in their corner as a manager. So two lots of managers.
Yes, they did. I wonder what that could mean.
Yeah. So I when I saw the managers, I was like, I actually even remember how this match ends.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Again, not from the time, but I've seen it.
No shit,
before.
really.
Yeah, when I was -4, I remember seeing this match vividly. So we see, it's quite interesting actually, I did like this, and how the managers did well, is when they were kind of squaring off with each other outside the ring.
I bet they're getting zesty.
Zesty.
Yeah.
See, I'd have gone spicy, but zesty I like.
Zesty is one of my new favourite go-to words, I think.
Okay, that's fine.
Getting a bit zesty.
The cameras pick it up, taking away from the action in the ring, but
Yes.
they look like they're ready to go, and you can hear the crowd building, which is why I think the camera has to turn to them to kind of pick
Otherwise
up.
you'd be like, what's all that noise?
Exactly. And then we see Wyndham finally gets the tag and starts to unload with fire. He hits a running bulldog on Nikolai, but it's broken by the Sheik, and then this is where the action just completely breaks down.
This is where chaos ensues.
Chaos does ensue. As the referee starts shepherding Rotundo out of the ring, we see the Sheik grab Freddie Blassie's cane,
Yes.
steps up,
Bosh.
fully breaks it
Yeah.
over the back of Wyndham, gets rid of the evidence, and then we see Volkov clamber over to get the cover, and we have new tag team
The
champions.
crowd is livid.
Very much
But
so.
it plays into the part, doesn't it?
And the way they did it, the match itself, nothing great,
No.
for damn sure. But they worked the ending quite well, I think. And my favourite part of this is the post-match interview that we get. So as we see them leave, Okerlund goes, right, I'm going to interview the new tag team champions. And then you see Sheik there posing with the belt like he's getting ready for a magazine photo cover shoot. And then Gene says one of my favourite lines of the night, goes, where's your cane? And then Freddie Blassie goes, what cane? I never had a cane. Brilliant. I thought that was so good because Gene's trying to just catch him out to be a little flippant turd, and Blassie just completely shoots him down. I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah.
Really good. Where do we go now, Holly?
I said, we're going to my new favourite person.
We're going back to Lord Alfred Hayes, and he discusses the upcoming match between two giants. He builds the night. He builds through the night for me because this is my second favourite moment, which leads to my favourite moment. So he discusses the upcoming match between two giants, and he says, and I quote, I am the only true champion giant, is what John Studd says, and Andre says, I am the giant. I think Lord Hayes' chronic constipation is really fucking with him here. It just, what?
He's so funny.
I'm the only true champion giant, and he goes, no, I am the giant.
His voice started to remind me of Beaker. From,
yeah,
but it
fair.
just made me like him even more.
Yeah,
Really
brilliant.
did.
It's just he committed
He pulled
to the
on
sentence.
all of my heartstrings.
He shot his load before he knew where the end destination was, and you could see him scrambling around for any words that would make a sentence coherent.
Yeah.
And it was just brilliant. So we then go to John Studd with actually a pretty good promo, I have to say.
Yeah.
And then Gene just starts fawning over the bag of money. So the concept of this match is it's a body slam challenge, so there's no pins. So
a 15 grand slam
£15,000.
match.
Yep. I've got a story about that as well.
Oh, gosh.
I've got 2 stories, in fact.
Okay.
So
I'll settle in.
So Andre, or make it sound like it's boring. So Andre the Giant was teasing retirement if he couldn't slam John Studd.
Mm-hmm.
John Studd said he couldn't be slammed, and if he did, he'd lose the £15,000. And what does he gain? I guess Andre retiring is what he gains. So we see a good promo from Studd, and then we see the man, the myth, the fucking legend, Bobby the Brain Heenan. Bobby the Brain Heenan is the best manager to ever be in the game for me. The only person that comes close is Heyman.
Okay.
And I think Heyman's taken a lot of Bobby's qualities because they both got the gift of the gab.
Yes.
I'll be honest, this wasn't one of his fine examples, but you'll learn to love, especially on commentary.
I'll learn to love it, will I?
Honestly.
Okay.
If you don't, I'll be stunned.
Okay.
He's brilliant. Right. Then Studd smacks Gene's hand, which I actually did laugh at.
Oh, yeah.
So Gene's grabbed a little bit of the money, and John, who's 6'10", legitimately, smacks his hand. I'd probably cry.
Yeah.
And the money goes on the floor, and you can see Studd kind of look down, going, "Oh, that's awkward. It's not supposed to fall on the floor."
Yeah.
That's about it. But we don't get a Andre pre-match interview.
That's a shame.
Well, it means it saves an impression, doesn't it? To be honest. So
you can still do an impression if you want.
Well,
but
he talks later.
I know.
So, right. I'll cover one story at the beginning of the match because it doesn't particularly tie into this match, but it's a good Andre the Giant story.
Right.
And the other one involves this match specifically.
Okay.
So the first, and I just find things that I think you'll find interesting or amusing, whether it ties in or not. So, have you heard of Jake the Snake Roberts?
Yes.
So Jake the Snake Roberts, fantastic promo, very good wrestler. Mm-hmm. He tells a story of one time he had a match with Andre the Giant. Now, Andre the Giant used to like to pull ribs on people.
Okay.
Always joking around, trying to find ways that he could make people laugh, or basically make himself laugh, if I'm being perfectly honest. And he decided one day he was going to do this to Jake. Now, him and Jake got on well. They used to play cards quite a lot. One of Andre's things backstage was he loved to play cards with the guys. Mm-hmm. And I think it was because in that environment he felt like he wasn't the freak. He was just one of the guys with everyone else. Because that must have been so tough for him. I'm reading his book at the moment and he mentions all this kind of stuff. And in the ring, Andre decided, I'm going to have a little laugh here. So Jake the Snake Roberts is sat in the corner of the ring. Mm. He's being beaten down. Andre does this thing where he puts his back against people to crush them in the corner. You see a little bit of it in this match later on. But Jake's sat on the floor. Andre leans into him a little bit, just smashes his arse up against Jake's shoulder and face, and rips a 40-second fart that goes on and on.
Christ.
And Jake said he sat there and he can just feel his arm vibrating. And he's like, what? He's not farting. He's surely not farting on me. And then he suddenly hears, oh,
God.
The ref walks off laughing as he's gagging, comes back, Andre's still mid-fart.
Jesus Christ.
And I've heard mixed reviews on this, but Jake has subsequently said, thank God it didn't smell like it sounded, because I'd be dead.
Oh, Lord.
But that was just Andre doing something to amuse himself.
Fair enough.
Thought it was a funny story.
Yeah.
So, the match.
Okay.
Now, I think it's fair to say that this is the worst match that we have ever covered in this podcast.
Yes, absolutely. By far.
I would say what's in your notes, but I imagine there's a lot of swear words.
I mean, the top one says, I'd give it a go for 15 grand.
Now, when you say give it a go, you mean body slam?
Yeah.
Right, okay, that's fine.
I literally was clutching at straws to this, because I knew it was Nate going to move fast. Like, honestly, it just wasn't. I knew it was never going to be pipped as a fast-moving match. But, I don't know, it didn't give for me.
No. And to be fair to Andre, and this was already well beyond his prime years. So Andre's best years were probably mid-70s to late 70s, and he used to be fairly agile, certainly for his size. He could throw a drop kick, I think. He wouldn't often do it, because obviously you don't want to see someone that big doing stuff like that, because it takes away from the fact that they're an imposing force.
Massive, yeah.
And you see it laden through, and it makes me sad because I just know the amount of pain he was in. So,
right, I see. Yeah, because I did watch the document. There was a documentary, I think, on Sky a long while about him, which I did actually watch because I found that so interesting.
Yeah, same.
Because I even did the whole, how old was he here? And I think he was 39. But you can, like, he's not a well-looking man. But I don't think I have ever seen him looking well. But that's because I haven't gone back and done all that jazz.
So,
but yeah, mental.
I mean, 8 years' time from now, he'd be dead.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So he had, I can't remember the name of the condition, I want to say it's like acromegaly or something like that, and it's to do with he's got a growth on the pituitary gland in his brain. Same thing as what Big Show had. The issue being is that they think that Andre knew about this condition, or something about this condition, for a lot longer than it was actually common knowledge. They think he was actually diagnosed in Japan when he was doing tour work over there, and just he wasn't interested in, basically, there was a surgery that Big Show had.
Yes.
He's fine now, thankfully. Andre was offered the surgery, and I understand his trepidation because it was still the early days of this kind of surgery. I was going to say, the difference
between time and medical procedures between now and then would just be ridiculous.
Even in like a year to 2 years in the medical field is night and day.
It's like dog years, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good way of putting it, actually.
Thank you.
And I think there's about 15 to 20 years between when Andre would have had the surgery and when Big Show had the surgery. But effectively the same condition, so he just had ridiculous growth, and he was offered the surgery. And even if you take out the fact that he was concerned about how new the surgery was, he decided against it because in his head, I'm the big guy. I'm the giant of wrestling. That's my niche. That's my
And I guess
shit.
if you're not working, you're not earning.
Exactly.
So you're also not not helping family, anything like that.
And there's no guarantees. There's no guarantees that it'll be successful surgery either. So that is the condition that Andre suffered with, and the damage had already very well and truly been done at this point. Because he used to be svelte at one point. He was always tall, obviously.
Yes.
But he didn't look ungainly with the fats.
No.
He just looked like
I've
everything.
definitely seen, especially in that documentary, I remember seeing clips of him being like, oh, like he kind of had not a similar physique as, what's his name? No, it's gone, I'm not even going to try. But I only remember seeing him on telly not looking like that.
You going to say Great Khali?
Thank you.
Like
a similar, similar style,
not quite
body
as barrel
style.
chested,
No,
yes,
like not lean either. Do you know what I mean? Just tall, but carried the weight.
It didn't look out of proportion with his body. The only thing that always looked big, head.
Right.
Always looked like he had a bit of an Easter Island head on him. Bless him. So you can just see he was just struggling.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. This isn't a nice match to watch or to review, if I'm being perfectly honest. So Andre strides over the top rope. I like that. You're a big guy. That's imposing. Very few people were doing that. Although John Studd was someone who used to do that as well. And I believe that there was a genuine bit of animosity between the two, where Andre never really liked John Studd because
kind of think he was like taking.
Yeah, I think it was probably halfway between the two. I don't think necessarily one of them was at fault. I think it was just they both had that giant envy, like I'm usually the big guy around here, and it just they never.
Suppose if you're 6'10" or whatever,
which is what he was,
it's weird to not be the tallest person in a room.
But he was. There was the relationship between the two, from what I've read, was never copacetic. There was always the tension there.
Cool, that might be a word a day, I think.
Oh, copacetic. Thank you. Whether I've used it right or not is up for debate. But there was certainly, and I think it showed in the match, because even though Andre was very limited, I think there were just moments in here that looked awkward.
Yes.
Like delays, missteps.
You could kind of, to me as well, like you can see that one person is running the match, which makes sense, but I could see it, which sometimes really ruins it for me.
Anytime Studd tried something that Andre didn't want to do, Andre's like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
and it was kind of very, very awkward. So Stud jumps Andre so we see Andre starting to jaw jack with Heenan on the outside. Stud runs across, starts laying into him. So
this match gave me a chance to get a drink.
I was going to say, was this a Prosecco and Freddo match?
It really, no Freddo.
Okay.
But definitely a Prosecco, because there's a very, very long bear hug here.
Oh my, yeah.
So much so that it gave me time to get up, pop the bottle, pour a glass, bottle back in the fridge, sit back down. Oh, they're still hugging. You
could have banged, got pregnant, given birth, raised the kid to 18.
Find a guy to have the kid with, in the duration.
The kid move out, that bear heg. The bear heg. Am I okay?
No.
It's been a long day, hasn't it?
It
really has. But we see Andre fire back with colossal chops, which they've got suck. That has got to suck, like being hit with a frying pan. And then he throws in a headbutt for good measure. Stud goes out the ring to take a breather and gather his thoughts.
Yep.
I'm actually okay with that, because there's going to be, you knew there was going to be rest spots in this match.
Absolutely.
Back in the ring, and Andre chokes Stud like a ragdoll. He's literally shaking him backwards and forwards like you see in the Muppets. It's ridiculous, like Miss Piggy choking Kermit. Andre then crushes him in the corner with his just sheer mass.
Just literally a lean.
This is what made me think of the Jake the Snake Roberts story. Then Stud tries to slam the Giant, but is unsuccessful.
Yeah.
The two men embrace as Andre bear hugs John. The crowd chant slam.
Yes, I put the crowd engagement again. That actually, I did enjoy.
And I get it. If I was a wrestling fan, certainly in the States back then, I'd have loved to have seen Andre the Giant.
Oh yeah, of course you would.
Because it's just such a... Don't get me wrong, I've seen the Big Show and you're like, oh wow, he's big. But Andre the Giant feels like mythical.
Yes.
Almost, doesn't he? And they always manage to... The whole shtick with Andre is not just in WWF, but anywhere he works, he would only be there for a brief period. Sprinkle it in so they don't get used to it and tired of seeing it. Keep it special.
That's nice. Moving on elsewhere.
So he used to love travelling. It was obviously difficult for him given his size, and later on it became unbearable. But he would only spend short stints here doing like maybe a month's worth of shows here, 2 months, move on to the next place, do 4 shows here, move on. And he just liked experiencing the world that way.
Fair enough.
And then you can see that, like you said, from the crowd.
Yeah.
The crowd just
absolutely
so behind him. Because they know that this isn't good wrestling.
Yeah.
But it's just they're seeing Andre the Giant.
Yeah, exactly.
Cut away to Heenan, who looks worried, as he should be. You see, as Andre's doing the bear hug, occasionally John Studd tries to grab the head, and Andre's just like, oh, I'm not letting go, boss. Like, he's not playing that shit. And that was the first kind of awkward moment that I saw. Wasn't the last, having said that. Another headbutt from the Giant after he eventually does let go of the bear hug, who then ducks too early for a back body drop, but he catches the leg of Stud.
Yes.
That wasn't badly done, actually. That's probably the highlight of the match. Stud goes to kick, but Andre catches it, which is what I've just said, and then he hits a really ugly right hand and then an uglier leg kick. Andre, please do not throw leg kicks. It looks awful. And he's throwing them safe, to be fair. He's not obviously trying to hurt the guy. But like the punch as well, I remember it looking really bad.
Yes.
And then the leg kick where he's lifting it like 5 centimetres off the floor. It reminds me almost of like the Orange Cassidy.
Yes, I was going to say, it
almost looks like a sham of pro wrestling, and it hurts to see. And I feel like I'm taking a sombre tone here, but it was just uncomfortable viewing, I thought. Then we see a really awkward exchange in the corner. Now this is the bit where I just like, something's not right here, where John Studd kept trying to change position and Andre kept going, no, stay there, slap you.
Yeah.
But I think it's because, and I might be reading too much into this because I mentioned the tension between them before, but I think it's because Heenan didn't have the bag of money on him, so they couldn't do the finish.
Oh, I see. So they're effectively kind of not wasting time, but
killing time,
trying to do something until that's done.
Exactly, because not long after.
Yeah, see, because I wouldn't have thought twice about that.
And it was only when I was trying to analyse
hurry up.
What they were doing. I was like, why are they dragging this out longer than it needs to?
Makes sense.
And then you see almost immediately after that, out of nowhere, Andre just goes, boom, body slam.
Yeah, I literally was like, oh, hang on, boom, it's finished.
Yep. We see Andre celebrate the win. The crowd erupt, to be fair to them.
That bag looking ridiculously small in such a big man's hands.
And when... it did, didn't it? The duffel bag.
Looked like a clutch bag.
You don't see a duffel bag often these days. I love a duffel bag.
Love a duffel bag.
My grandpa used to have one. Whenever I'd go swimming with my grandpa, I'd always have this duffel bag. Yeah, amazing what you could fit in there. And also, when you think 15 grand's supposed to be in there, it's just screwed up notes. It wasn't like...
I'd be livid. I'd be like, where is my crisp money?
You love a crisp
I
note,
do.
don't you? Very
do.
excited. Sets the heart fluttering. But this is my story for the end of the match.
Oh, okay.
So, like I said, WWF were in not penny pinching circumstances because they've obviously spent as much as they had on WrestleMania, but they couldn't afford any extra expenditure.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to be tight with the budget. Obviously, there was money involved in this. They knew that Andre was going to throw a bit of money into the crowd.
Yeah, I did like that actually when he did that.
I did. Nice touch. Andre's going to grab the bag, throw it out. Bobby Heenan was instructed by Vince McMahon, you take that bag off him so quick he barely has his chance to put his hand in the bag to get anything out. So Andre's diving in the bag, getting handfuls, and Bobby Heenan's thinking, if Andre wants to carry on doing it, there is fuck all I can do to stop him from doing it. So Andre gets about 2 or 3 handfuls of money out, and Heenan very swiftly actually snatches it from him.
Very quick and very impressive, actually.
And he said he ran because he thought
actually,
that Andre might...
scared.
Yes, he was scared that Andre might go, no, and like snatch it off him. And then, so that was a genuine little moment.
Because I did think in my head as well, I was like, that was well quick. Okay,
yeah, that was an instruction.
Good little story, that.
Yeah, I thought that you'd like that. So, that was the end of the match.
Yeah.
And then we see Andre go backstage.
Oh.
Talk to me and Gene. I've done the voice.
Yeah.
But it was just a lot of noise and laughing. That was about it, really. Didn't really have anything else to say of value. But then, Holly, what happens next?
My favourite guy.
The man of the moment, the man of the hour, the man who's too sweet to be sour.
This guy is making my WrestleMania experience.
I think he does commentary on a few of them, to be fair, or he's involved in some capacity. It's our Hayes time, baby. So Lord Hayes starts talking over the announcers. Fuck it.
Because why not?
Why not? He got cut off earlier.
Exactly.
Fuck them. And then, as he's there, he gets kissed.
Yeah.
By Fabulous Moolah, who puts half her lipstick on his face. And he is so thrown off by this. Then Leilani Kai tries to give him one as well. And that's just really awkward because he's like kind of pulling away. And he goes, oh, good gracious. Or good luck, something like that.
So sweet. Just so sweet.
Ridiculous. But that is my favourite moment of the entire show. Just him just flabbergasted. I just don't even have any words for it. But it was one of those moments you look and you go, oh, so sweet. We go from there. We go to see Cyndi Lauper starts rambling on about being a powerful woman and now she's a powerful manager with that New York, kind of voice. It's really whiny and annoying. But God, no, that version of that is ridiculous. Right, okay, even the people who have that accent must go. Her version of that, specifically her version. Mm-hmm. If you've ever watched The Young Rock, the TV show, Cyndi Lauper is portrayed in the show, and the person who portrays them does it brilliantly. The accent flawlessly. Becky Lynch. Stop it! Really? Me and Em were watching it, and I did a double take when I saw it. I went, "That's Becky Lynch." Oh. And then when is it? And then I actually showed a picture of what Cyndi Lauper really looked like, and Em went, "They look like the same person." Oh wow! Oh okay, I'll have to give it a watch. But yeah, and she's like, yeah, I'm a powerful woman. I'm now a powerful manager. Yeah, oh, it's just awful promo. But to be fair, she's given like so much credibility to the company, bringing eyes to the product. She served her purpose. I'll overlook that. We also see, then it goes backstage, even though we just saw them walk to the ring. Yeah, I know. It's shreds confusing for my little brain. Yeah, we see Moolah, who's cosplaying as Elton John in his pyjamas. Yes, that is perfect. Perfect. And then, I think it was Kai that used the phrase, and again, there's so many promo flubs, said, I'm going to come back with my hand in Victor. Who's Victor? And why's your hand in them? I don't know if I say lucky boy, because I don't think I want Leilani Kai delving in my cavernous posterior. But now we go to the match. Mm-hmm. And you'll notice in that little segment, even though one of the people that's competing in this match was involved in backstage promo, they offered so little I didn't even write them down. So Cyndi Lauper just completely steamrolls, much like Bruno Sammartino did for his son, completely steamrolls this moment, takes away from Wendy Richter. Yeah. Did you do any Googling of the ages here? Because I did. No, I didn't. They both looked... It's not an age thing, because that makes no sense. It's an generational thing. Yeah, it's the same style. With the guys. Yeah. Everyone looks older. Like, I've seen photos of my mum back in the 80s, and I'm like, when did you turn 50 in the 80s? Love that. And
obviously does not take kindly to that, as she had me in the 80s and she
Well,
was not.
If she takes as well to it as you do to suggestions of being old, I can only imagine that fists were thrown.
Yeah, no, it's the age, and that these women, I feel not bad for them, because part of me is kind of like, oh, you know what, they didn't really dress you like skimpy, but also you're just wearing swimming costumes.
When you said skimpy, I heard the cheeky girls for some reason saying
skimpy.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, you're right. They are kind of wearing like bathing
They're swimming
suits.
costumes, yeah.
Yeah.
And a bit of arm gear, which...
Bit of arm gear. There was no frills.
No, thank God.
How old do you think Wendy Richter is?
Oh, God. I mean, I want to say in her 40s, but I'm pretty sure that's incorrect.
Just put a number out there.
41.
23.
Shut up.
Tough paper round, wasn't it, Wendy?
That's bad.
She's only just
But
about...
it's the fashion at that time
She's
as
only
well.
just in her 60s now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. She looked old. I didn't look up Leilani
God.
Kai's age, but I remember... Because I think I saw... Have you ever heard of the series Dark Side of the Ring?
Yes.
Fascinating documentary series. I think you can find a few of them on YouTube. And one of them was about how Fabulous Moolah had like a vice-like dictatorship grip over all of women's wrestling.
Oh, okay.
And Wendy Richter was one of the people that kind of succumbed under the yoke that was Moolah.
Right.
And she said, yeah, I was a young girl, I was like 23 at WrestleMania. And I went, no. Because I remember seeing, and I looked it up, I fact-checked it. So I don't think she was far off 24, but I'm pretty sure she was 23.
It's just the fashion and that at that time, and the hair does women or men no favours at that time.
No, I know. It's like even the 60s and stuff, you can somehow look...
Yeah.
Like that looks dated, but different dated.
Yeah.
It's like fashion forward, but age forward.
Yes.
Oh, that sounded like I knew what I was talking about there, didn't it?
Yeah.
So, we go to the match. Leilani Kai with the Fabulous Moolah against Wendy Richter with Cyndi Lauper, defending the WWF Ladies title.
Yes.
Not women's,
No.
Ladies.
Ladies.
Bit of sophistication there.
Yeah.
Women's wrestling in general was... It had been around for decades at this point, but just... This was the first moment in my mind where women's wrestling was given an initial boost of...
Because it was allowed to be put on WrestleMania, effectively.
It was the co-main event.
Yeah.
I went on after Andre the Giant.
God, yeah.
It was shown as like it was a form of women empowerment because they had it in the 80s. Look at Cyndi Lauper; she was the embodiment of like girls just want to have fun. That said the whole thing, didn't it? It's like we can do. We're not just the plus one of the man.
Yeah.
We're our own being. I know you're looking at me like
in my head I'm thinking, God, I've sung that song so many times, but never actually thought about what it means.
That's effectively it was. It was like I'm independent. I can do my own thing. So it was kind of a little surge in that moment, and it worked so well with putting it with the ladies' title. Unfortunately, nothing really came of the ladies' title after this, and there was about a 10-year period where it kind of fell away and then came back in the mid-90s.
Right.
But it was a nice idea. Now we see the long-term ramifications of that with the revolution that we've had. And it's nice to see that, you know, wrestling's only about 40 years behind society and stuff. Next thing, women will be allowed to vote. It'll be crazy, Holly.
Who'd have thunk it, eh?
So we start with a tie-up, and almost immediately they both start pulling hair. And I go, oh, this isn't going to be good.
No.
They take it in turns to exchange mat-based holds. Didn't mind that. That was okay. Richter looks to be getting the better of it, but then Leilani grabs more hair to regain the advantage because that is always the equaliser in women's wrestling.
Why not?
If it's there, grab it.
Yeah.
So to speak. Kai sends Wendy face first into the turnbuckles, but then goes back to the hair and chokes her with, well, not with the hair, but then she grabs the hair and then just starts choking her on the floor. It's just a bit of a mess. Body scissors by Richter, who goes, well, I'm on my back.
Sorry, that choke, why did he not count a pin?
Pin? Or
did he not? Because when she was choking her, both shoulders were on the floor.
True, but she was doing an illegal thing to get her there.
So technically, the whole thing is just crazy.
I get not counting, but surely you should be doing 1, 2,
let go.
Yeah, which I didn't see, having said that.
Free for all.
So we see from the floor, Wendy Richter applies the body scissors, because wrestling. But Leilani powers her up to get her to her feet before a messy takedown. Now, the messy takedown was crap, but the bit where... So, Richter had her legs round Leilani's body. Leilani stands up and basically pulls her to her feet.
Yeah.
That was impressive. And I think Ventura on commentary even says that she can, whether it's true or not, said that she could bench press 200 pounds.
Right.
That's still impressive feat because she's not a big woman. We then see what I've put here as a snap hair takedown. See what I did there?
Yes.
Not snap mare, snap hair.
No.
Very clever. By Kai, who runs into the boots of Richter right afterwards in the corner. Then we see Moolah start to grab at Richter from the floor. But don't worry, Cyndi Lauper's there.
Oh, honestly, this bored me.
So she grabs Moolah and
Why
then...
can't people just wrestle? Why?
I don't know what to tell you, honey. I really don't. I'm sorry. So Cyndi Lauper kind of gets involved, gets Moolah to let go of the hold.
Yeah.
Kai with a big boot to the chest because, quite frankly,
You know.
she couldn't reach the face. But Richter fights back.
Yeah.
Wendy with a reverse FU. I didn't know how to describe it. So she
But
put
the
her on the
shoulders.
shoulders.
I actually liked that move though.
I did.
I just put onto shoulders and like a throw off type thing.
I just put
Enjoyed
reverse
it.
FU because she
Yeah.
didn't throw them that way.
No.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah,
kind
I
of...
did like it.
Yeah, it was good. Again, probably that and the power lift were the two best moments of the match. Defensive knees in the corner from Kai drops Richter.
Mm-hmm.
Backbreaker variant follows because I think she was going for a body slam and then kind of changed her mind
Right.
part way through it and drops her on her knee instead. Leilani then climbs to the top, hits the flying crossbody, but Richter just about rolls through, and I do mean just about rolls through. 1, 2, 3, and we have a new WWF Ladies Champion.
Yeah, the crowd were very happy about it.
And then, for no reason, match is over. Lawler. Jerry Lawler was not involved in this
he
match.
wasn't.
You probably wish he was. Cyndi Lauper just jumps Moolah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. And then it was just shits and giggles, I'm assuming, to be honest. Then Moolah tries to get into the ring, and then proper slapstick comedy, trips over nothing,
Yes.
falls on her face, and then bounces about 5 times across the canvas on her saggy norks.
Oh,
it was
stop.
horrendous.
Yeah, it's very odd. Very odd.
This is chaos. Absolute chaos.
Yeah.
Kai then just knocks down Richter, but then that's
I
it.
just wish it would have ended.
And then Lauper goes to lift Wendy in celebration, but she's not got the strength to pick
Absolutely
her
not.
off the floor. So Wendy goes, I'll pick you up instead.
Yeah.
So Wendy picks her up, and then they do that little celebratory dance, which is the clip that's been shown over and over again through the years.
Yes.
Of WrestleMania
I
highlights.
yes, I did. I have seen that.
It's like, it's that.
It's the then, this, now.
It's that,
Just.
Piper going nose to nose with Mr. T, Muhammad Ali raising his hand, and that's about it. Andre
Right.
the Giant lifting his hand in celebration.
Yeah.
They're the clips that were taken away from this one.
Yep.
So after the match, we go backstage. Mean Gene Okerlund, who's, I'll be honest, I wanted this to be Al Hayes, but we see Lauper looking like she's eaten an entire lipstick in a thunderstorm.
Oh my god.
What the...
Where do you come up with these analogies?
Did you not see what she looked like?
Awful.
Like her entire teeth.
Yeah.
Red lipstick. It was like Ronda Rousey doesn't even do shit this bad with her eye makeup.
Oh, with her makeup, yeah.
My God, awful. Oh, imagine if that was you. How mortified
I'd be
would you be?
Livid.
Oh.
Absolutely livid.
Richter feels like a complete and utter afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
She's a the ladies champion.
Yes.
I don't remember her saying anything.
No.
I think she started to, and then Lauper starts.
Yeah.
And now we go to the prequel to the main event,
Mm.
where we see the succession of celebrities introduced to the crowd.
Yeah, this was drink time, I'll be honest.
100%. So, baseball legend Billy Martin as the guest ring announcer. So,
Don't
famous
know that.
baseball manager. I believe he played in his day as well.
He just looked very happy to be there.
Well known in the New York crowd, so
Okay,
he got a good
fair
reception. It was a
Mhm.
New York-based team that he managed. Finkel helps Martin, who introduces Liberace, with the Rockettes.
Yes, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the Radio City Rockettes, but this took a fucking lifetime.
Yep.
Honestly.
Or they did the can-can.
Yes.
Liberace does a lap of the ring.
Honestly, I literally got my drink.
Yep.
I sat down and I thought, oh, here we go. Oh, he's still fucking dicking around.
Do you know that I said Liberace that time, not Liberace?
Liberace.
I want it to be Liberace.
But
now.
I was just like, honestly, just introduce him, sit the fuck down.
Yeah, again, I don't... So they were the special timekeeper?
Because he was the timekeeper. He
Yeah.
had his special bell. The
Very
bejazzled bell.
That is certainly one way of describing that bell, for
Mhm.
sure. Then we see my favourite, Muhammad Ali, as a special guest referee. So he's the outside enforcer.
Did he just love wrestling?
He was a
Or-
wrestling fan.
Okay, fair play.
Like I said, a lot of
So I
his...
was like, why would you be there?
Well,
But-
he had involvement in wrestling in the 70s. He had a
Okay.
coming together with Gorilla Monsoon,
Oh,
where
okay.
Gorilla Monsoon was a bad guy, called him out of the crowd. Ali got
Similar
in,
to what they do still to
but
this
they
day.
he
I
gave
guess.
him an aeroplane spin, so Monsoon put Ali on his shoulders and spun
Oh,
him
wow.
round. Yeah, they were trying to build up to something of that, because originally, so the story time with Scotty B, baby.
Hey.
I don't know if you have any awareness of the quote-unquote mixed martial arts fight that Muhammad Ali had.
No.
So, in the, I want to say, late 70s, around 79, they wanted to do a wrestler versus boxer mega showdown match. Rumour has it that originally it was the WWF and Vince McMahon was really pushing to get something sorted with Muhammad Ali, and they were looking towards Gorilla Monsoon, which I think is how this incident first came to be. Then it became very political in terms of logistics, the pay that was going to be involved in it. But also, I think someone got in the ear of Ali and said, well, you shouldn't be losing this, because it was going to be a put-on.
Oh, I see.
Long story short, Japan ended up eventually being the area where it took place. And there's a legendary wrestling figure in Japan, who I was very close to actually putting on my Mount Rushmore of wrestling.
Yeah.
Antonio Inoki. So he was the creator of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Revered like a god over there. He was the man that was going to go up against Muhammad Ali. They couldn't decide who was going to win. So as a result, the only thing they could think of doing was, well, we'll have a legitimate fight then. See what happens.
Yeah.
It was a farce. So I think Vince McMahon still had some of the pay-per-view or television rights in the States for it to air it, but it was such a financial failure. Because what effectively happened was, Inoki knew that he couldn't stand and trade punches with Ali because he'd get his head caved in. Even though this was late in Ali's career, he still would have, because that's just the nature of the sport. So Inoki dropped to his backside and was scooting across the ring, kicking at Ali's legs. Ali was trying to throw down an occasional punch, but you'd had to lean right over and you'd be in kicking distance. So basically what ended up happening was 15 rounds of butt scooting, leg kicking and punches.
I see.
It was panned, horrendously hated. This was Ali's only proper involvement, apart from the couple of angles that he had, and he's brought in as a guest referee here. But many are considering that this fight was the first mixed martial arts match of all time, because it was one discipline against, even though pro wrestling is not a legitimate sport, it's still athletic, it was considered to be the first mixed martial arts fight. And that's the only ways that I'm aware of that Ali's had involvement in wrestling, other than just kind of like waving occasionally when he's been in the crowd. Story time's over. After they show Muhammad Ali, they just happened to show Jose Torres in the crowd, who was a former light heavyweight boxing champion, but I think he was there by coincidence rather than being invited, to be perfectly honest. And then we see Pat Patterson as the referee.
Yes.
So, first ever Intercontinental Champion, we discussed him earlier in the show as well. He was basically assigned the official for the role because he would be better able to talk Mr. T through what was happening.
I see,
So he's often credited, rightly so, for helping put a lot of matches together. And there's one match that when we get to WrestleMania 12, I think it is probably his biggest achievement in terms of putting a match together. And it was the main event of that show. Just if you're looking at points through his career where he's done something of considerate note from behind the scenes. But so he was considered a trusted pair of hands to help talk Mr. T through anything that if he got overwhelmed, that's brilliant work by WWF to think that through, because you'd feel more secure, wouldn't you, rather than just Joe Bloggs as a referee there. Now we see the introductions. I loved right, I'll say what the match is first.
Oh, okay.
Hulk Hogan, Mr. T, with Superfly Jimmy Snuka brother, taking on Rowdy Roddy Piper, with Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, with Cowboy Ace Bob Orton. Randy Orton's daddy. Not an attractive man. No, Randy Orton got all those genes from his mummy.
Yes, he did.
So, Piper's team comes out first.
Yes.
I fucking love that bagpipe intro that he got. That gave me that.
Did it?
I felt like this is main event.
Okay.
I was getting hyped. I've seen this match like 3 times before. I was getting excited.
It was a big entrance.
And he's just so charismatic. One of the most naturally charismatic people in wrestling for me, Roddy Piper. He could talk about anything and make you're engaged, whether it's absolute drivel or what. You're just focused on him. So good. And again, just like anything with bagpipes, kind of. I'm not Scottish, but I felt like, it's kind of referring to
I see.
UK.
Yeah.
Because I think he does have Scottish ancestry, but he's Canadian.
Oh, okay.
So, don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't. I'll be honest, I've heard him speak for sure, but my memory is awful. So you hear bagpipes, you see a bit of tartan, you think, oh, definitely Scottish.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I believe he was Scottish, to be fair, back when I was a kid. And this is obviously who inspired Ronda Rousey to all her gear. So then we hear it, we hear what they play on the network.
Oh, I mean, I'm sorry, whether it's there or not, it doesn't stop me having. It makes me happy.
Yeah, we hear Real American, but I don't think that is what was played.
No,
I think it was actually Eye of the Tiger that they played in the stadium.
Oh, but they won't have been able to put the copyright of that.
The licensing they would have done, so they dubbed it.
Really?
Well, I think that's the case anyway.
Oh.
And it makes sense.
Why do you think it was that?
Very good question. And this is a mini story time.
Oh gosh, okay.
So
fell right into that one, didn't I?
You did, yeah. You did see it coming. I laid the trap perfectly. So Hulk Hogan, when he worked previously for Vince McMahon Sr., so he was around long enough to work for Vince's dad, he wanted and had an opportunity to appear in a movie. Mm-hmm. Vince Sr. was like, I don't want my wrestlers appearing in movies. Mm-hmm. Hulk went, well, it's an opportunity for me, I've got to do this. And Vince said, fine, I'm never booking you again.
Wow.
Hulk went to do the movie. That movie was Rocky 3, where he played Thunderlips.
Yeah.
And he had the mixed martial arts match with Rocky Balboa. So you've seen Rocky 3, haven't you?
Yeah.
So that's where Hulk Hogan first burst onto the screen. And Vince Sr., to his word, didn't bring Hulk back. It was only when Vince Jr. got in charge of booking that Hulk actually did come back. So they had Hulk Hogan before
that's crazy.
The film, said, no, you can't have this
but stuck to their guns and... Wow. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you. That was informative.
I wasn't actually planning on telling you that, but you are. So yeah, and obviously that's how he met Mr. T, because that was the film where Clubber Lang, Mr. T, was the main protagonist. Was the bad guy.
See, if I used my brain sometimes, I'd be lethal, because you say all that and it makes so much sense. And in my head, I'm watching it and I'm going, "Why is Mr. T there?" But it makes so much sense
because so Rocky 3 would have been around this time. To be fair, about 84, 83. Yeah. So I think. You know all the individual components, but you don't necessarily see the interconnecting threads between the two.
Barely capable of stringing a sentence together, let alone bringing the links together.
And yet, ladies and gentlemen, she was the one that wanted to do this podcast. So we hear Real American through the network, and I said it really does start to feel like a big show now. Yes. It feels like a big event. The crowd are hot. They weren't bad throughout the night, to be fair.
But it's definitely all led up to peaking here.
It has, for sure. Before the match even starts, a scuffle nearly breaks out immediately. But we've still got Muhammad Ali in the ring, and Piper actually visibly puts his hands up and walks away from Ali, which I thought was nice because Roddy Piper doesn't back down from anyone in wrestling, but he knows enough to stay away from that fire. A group hug by Piper to rally the troops, and I love that because it looks so stupid. Just him going like, yeah, come on, yeah, in the corner. Brilliant. And now we're underway.
I've said this before. I'll say it again. Whenever he's on my screen, I'll say it again. Hulk Hogan. He was 32.
Oh.
How does he look like? He's about 65. He looks younger. He looks younger with the bandana, the dark beard with the bleached bit over the top, or natural, I don't know. He looks younger there than he does here.
I think he goes like 40s, 50s, late 30s, 40s,
it's
70s.
It's crazy, isn't it?
That's how he's aged.
It's boggling.
Yeah, he doesn't age linearly.
And also, when he walks to the ring, why is he wearing a sweatband around his hair?
Interesting.
Because he's got there's nothing up there.
Did you know that the WWF cameras were specifically instructed for production purposes to never make sure that you're filming the bald spot on his head? So they had to cut cameras around where he was in the ring.
Really?
Yep. Because it was seen as a less than perfect flaw in the character. And also they would spend thousands of dollars whenever he was on a magazine cover to get hair airbrushed onto the picture. But
everyone would have known.
Yeah, because they're not stupid.
Oh my god. Okay.
But this was
I didn't know that, but thank you.
This was the whole marketing thing behind it.
Wow.
Couldn't have a flaw. Just
put bring the bandana in earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Wasn't really part of the culture then,
I was going to say, I don't think it came in till later.
He brought in like the do-rag after the kind of... Because NWO had a bit of a counterculture, grungy kind of... Even like rap-related links to it, so it kind of made sense for it to happen, but you're right. Yeah, why? So we see Orndorff immediately waves off Hogan and tags Piper. He's not interested in going against Hulk Hogan.
Also, that guy, that's Mr. Wonderful, right?
Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff.
He looks like a Ken doll.
I get that.
In that an 80s
tough guy as well.
Ken doll. And I did Google stuff about him, and then I
Did
got
you see that arm condition?
I got very into a rabbit hole, and I was like, I need to come out of this because I'm so confused by this.
He is a kindred spirit of you in many respects.
Oh yeah.
Because he had severe neck-related issues that resulted in basically the nerves going down one side of his arm, not being able to be used, and his right arm withered.
Yeah.
So it was like almost...
Oh, so he like lost a lot of like muscle tone and stuff.
All of it.
All
and
of
like,
it.
he was still yoked on the other side.
Yeah.
And he was just and it looks really weird. So it's in the 90s in WCW.
Yeah, because it said something about it's more apparent, like he injured himself doing something, I can't remember, but it said it's more apparent in later
100%.
shows.
You can't not see it.
I was like, oh, I need to focus on what's actually going on.
It's like a baby's arm. It's so odd.
Gosh.
But I think he might still be alive now, actually.
Okay.
One of the few from this era that's still around. I don't think he's necessarily in great shape. I'm pretty sure he's still alive. So Orndorff waves off Hogan, tags in Piper. Mr. T starts going nuts on the apron. Mr. T wants... Because Roddy Piper was a very controversial promo. He would say a lot of things that were...
Right.
You could take as racist.
Okay.
And some of them fell on the wrong side of that as well.
Right.
I don't know if he was necessarily a racist individual, but he certainly...
That's what the promos were. Yeah.
He did, and he had a incident with Jimmy Snooker as well. So... You know, have you heard of Piper's Pit? Which was like the original interview section. So that was what Piper used to do. He had Jimmy Snooker on as a guest once. And then he basically said, I bet you used to climb in trees and you want a banana, and was throwing bananas at him. And then coconuts as well. And there's a famous scene where he grabs a coconut and hits Snooker in the head, and the coconut explodes. And Snooker collapses through the...
Jesus Christ.
But all the stuff he's saying is like basically, oh, you're a monkey, this kind of stuff.
That's awful.
It's really, like, it's bad. But again, at the time, I can't speak because obviously I wasn't around watching it at the time, but I would have thought there'd still be some trepidation about it, but I can't honestly say I know how it landed.
God.
You'd imagine it wouldn't be great.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's where the heat is. They knew you shouldn't be saying that.
Jesus.
So he had, that's how he had history with these people in there.
Right, okay.
One thing that's interesting about Roddy Piper as well,
yeah,
he refused to lose to Hulk Hogan.
Really?
Yeah. And it's smart.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Hulk Hogan beats everybody.
Yes.
Especially in this era. Well, any era, Hulk Hogan wins.
Well,
That's you can go in and argue, but more often than not, Hulk Hogan's winning that argument. Roddy Piper goes, no. Why not? Well, because if he beats me, what's the point of I've lost all my value. There's no money in us doing it again. So Roddy was a smart businessman. I mean, to a point, digging your heels in, just saying no. Because once you beat me, that's it. It's done.
Yeah.
So he made a point of never losing clean to Hulk Hogan. I think he eventually lost to him in WCW in like the mid-90s when no one gave a shit and it didn't matter.
I see. Like it'd already been done.
And I think Piper actually beat him first there. So so Piper was one of the few people to refuse to lose to Hulk Hogan in WWF.
Interesting.
So Mr. T going nuts on the apron.
Yeah.
Nose to nose when Piper does tag in, and this is one of those moments that you see in future Then Now Forever stuff with the two of them going squaring off.
By the time anybody actually started this match, there was only 20 minutes left of the pay-per-view.
Yes. So you must have been at least...
I was a little bit like, oh, okay. Thinking also in my head, I thought, well, I know this match isn't 20 minutes because they're definitely doing shit at the end.
So that's interesting because normally I know it was a shorter show, but normally by this point in a show that we're reviewing, you're like, I want it to end now.
Yeah, I was alright.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I was surprised myself.
So when the action actually starts, they exchange a couple of slaps. I like that. Good, like, you're a bitch. No, you're a bitch. Then Piper goes to his amateur wrestling background, which I don't know if he has, and starts to take Mr. T down through some classical amateur holds.
Is this where we get Piper's riding him?
Yes, we get Piper's riding him.
And it literally did look exactly like that.
It very much did. Then Mr. T puts Piper on his shoulders and dumps him.
Yeah.
But T ends up in the wrong corner and it falls apart pretty quick.
Chaos.
I don't know what I've written here.
Oh.
Okay. So, Al. Oh, Ali. I thought I put Al. I was like, who the hell's Al? Lou Albano? He wasn't in this. Ali jumps in to maintain, or regain order, I should say.
Yeah, because he's the ref on the outside.
Exactly. Nearly oversteps his boundaries. He jumps on the apron.
Absolutely oversteps at 1 or 2 points, but I didn't really care. So
Piper SL signals, up yours, and go to leave. We're not doing this.
Yeah.
Imagine if that's how it ended.
I literally put... Surely it doesn't fucking end like this.
Because you wouldn't have known, would you?
No, absolutely not.
Of course. Hogan then taunts them in the ring, kind of getting the whole crowd behind them. and that's enough. They come back.
Do you know what I hoped for? And I knew it wasn't. I didn't think it was going to come because, yeah, we know I like a Hogan finger wag.
Yes, we do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, is it? And then I thought, oh, is it too soon for that? No.
When the heels do eventually return to the ring, they get a double noggin knocker, is what they call that. Clashing of the two heads together. Make that 2, in fact. Atomic drop by Hogan on Piper, who continues to throw rights at the Scot. Double clothesline on Piper, followed by a body slam from Mr. T. Very nice hip toss on Orndorff.
Okay.
So Orndorff came in and Mr. T almost did like a judo throw hip toss on him. And I was like, that looked pretty good, actually.
I didn't like the camera at this point, though. It was too far. It stayed before Mr. T goes in.
Yeah.
I think when it's just Hogan in there, the camera angle stays far back for quite a long time. And I was like, I'm assuming this is for a purpose. Yes. I don't know. But I was a bit like, please tell me it doesn't stay here for the rest of the match, because it'd be
if
annoying.
I'm a betting man, it's probably because the crowd was starting to get animated and standing up, so they wanted to
show the crowd in it.
Exactly.
But for someone that's just watching on a very small telly, as we've clearly established, it was hard for me to actually see what the fuck was going on.
Yep, fair enough. No, that's a fair point. A big boot by Hogan sends Roddy over the top rope to the floor.
Of course.
And then Orndorff blindsides Hogan, so he comes out of nowhere. On the outside, Hot Rod hits Hogan with a chair to the spine.
That has someone's jacket on the back of it.
Yeah, I laughed at that. Also, disqualification.
Honestly.
There's 5 refs.
This is so stupid.
Where's Ali? Why's Ali not laying hands
ding,
on
ding,
him?
ding.
Yeah.
You're done.
Again.
Where's Liberace with his bell? Come on.
Oh, yeah, we've got the dilly, 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 to start it like it was the last lap of a greyhound race or something. We see Ali actually then shepherds Orndorff and Hogan back into the ring, so he does do it. So a bit late.
He does a little bit.
Gets involved.
Someone's told him to do that.
But now Hogan's isolated, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Probably because they didn't think Mr. T would be able to sell for a long period of time without it being unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. T keeps trying to make the save, but this allows the heels to double team, so he's leaning in, trying to get in and run across the ring. It works because it looks like Mr. T's being naive, and that kind of plays into their hands. I'm okay with that. Then we see a double atomic drop and a suplex on Hogan by Mr. Wonderful. So the double atomic drop is where Hogan, I mentioned it earlier in the show, takes it and then just falls to the floor like his legs were noodles. Good selling, but not for that move.
Yeah.
And I've always liked the Hulk Hogan convulsing the rah, rah, rah.
Oh yeah, we've talked about that before, haven't we?
I'm fine with that. After a couple of tags, Orndorff takes flight with a standing elbow on the Hulkster.
Yeah, I assume.
I think that's what it was, yeah. Then he goes back up top, but a flying knee misses the mark as Hogan moves.
Absolutely, because why wouldn't you move?
Of course. Hot tag to Mr. T, who gives eye rakes to both Piper and Orndorff.
Yeah.
Piper then blindsides T, and Gorilla once more says the phrase Pearl Harbored. So do you remember I mentioned this to you a few shows ago? That's a Gorilla Monsoonism. Basically, if anyone sneaks and attacks someone when they're not looking, he called it Pearl Harbor. Because in the events of Pearl Harbor, USA weren't expecting the attack that happened.
No.
We then get a messy mat-based exchange between Mr. Wonderful and Mr. T. So Wonderful just starts to kind of exert his no, we're doing what you stay here and I do what I want.
Yes.
Then Hogan manages to get back in and then is on fire ever so briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Orndorff regains control with a back suplex on the Hulkster. Nice move.
Yeah, is that the bit where literally you end up just you're kneeling down and someone's back is over your knee? Or has that already happened?
That's a back break. I don't think I've got to that. Or if it has, I haven't missed it. I haven't written it down. No, I think I missed that.
Yeah, because when that did happen, I just watch it when it's on Hogan. I think, no wonder he is the way he is now. Because bloody hell, it's like trying to do that with a piece of wood.
Yeah, well,
like he's got no give.
Yeah, no,
in his back, which is
fair.
You don't have to, but it just. I didn't like it.
And then we see Randy's daddy, Orton, get involved.
Of course.
So he comes in, but Snooker hits a ridiculous jumping headbutt, where he jumps, he's about 4 foot off the ground, and Orton's just staring at him the whole time
because
until he gets...
Fucking move.
Yep. I laughed, I thought it was brilliant. Then Patterson tries to regain order, you see the wheels are starting to fall off.
Chaos.
As this is happening, Orton then comes back in, climbs up to the top rope, and as Orndorff has Hulk in a full Nelson hold, Mr. T cuts off Piper, so it's quite clever. So Piper's ready to run and sock unexpected Hogan. Mr. T comes out the side, grabs him so he can't hit him. They turn round, Orton's up top, goes to take flight with the cast, because This was also...
Yeah.
He genuinely broke his arm once, but then his whole gimmick was, I'm just going to keep the cast on.
He kept the cast on because it's,
Exactly. So he jumped off. Hogan sees it last minute, moves position, moves Orndorff into the way. Nice. Orndorff takes it on the back of the head. Hulk hooks the leg, and this one is all over.
Yes, it is. However, I would just like to... Maybe it's because I had a small telly. I'm pretty sure fucking Hogan is stood up by 2.5.
Yeah, I saw that.
I was like, 3 does not hit the mat before he's on his feet celebrating.
Must have been a time constraint that we weren't aware of. They went, go home,
yeah,
go, quick. So what we see here is after that, Piper starts shouting at Orndorff, having lost the match, and then he just storms off, dismissive hand wave, and for whatever reason goes, fuck you, Pat Patterson, drops him once.
Bit harsh.
Yeah. Mr. T goes to shake Orndorff's hand, but Hogan goes, no, brother, pulls him away. Because he just goes, it's really quite funny, actually. Yeah. And Hogan's like, no, that takes away from our moment. Hulk then poses with a titty dance.
Oh, yeah.
And then we hear Gorilla with maybe the line of all time.
Oh, okay.
A happening has happened.
I mean, he ain't
That's
wrong.
every day.
A happening's happened.
I've just had a happening right now. This is a happening.
A happening has happened.
And it has happened.
It has. I might start using that in my day-to-day life.
Oh, 100%. I love Gorilla Monsoonisms. The external occipital protuberance as well for the back of the head. That's what I'm taking. And we see them go backstage where they're interviewed with Mean Gene.
You don't need this. This I did not need. I needed the credits to be running
Mr.
by this
T's
point.
Got his hands on his hips. He's blowing out his ears going, pro wrestling stuff, man.
Oh, honestly.
That's basically all he says.
And at the end, can you dig it?
Yeah, Hulk.
I was like, hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Oh, because he's cool. He's down with the kids.
I was like, where's Booker T? What?
Yeah, can you dig it, sucker?
I was like,
brilliant.
What?
Oh, no, because Hogan, because he's with Mr. T, he feels like that gives him street cred to be able to talk. Yeah, like that.
It did
exactly.
make me chuckle.
And then you just get Hogan just spouting off his, well, let me tell you something, dude.
Yeah,
and then just getting the big man and the little man and the Hulkster dude. Just
that's so funny.
Ridiculous nonsense. And then you go to Jimmy Snuka, who's like, yes, with Mr. T and Big Brother Hulk. Big Brother Hulk. You're like 79, mate. What is wrong with you? Like, he is well in his 40s there.
Is that Tamina's dad?
Yep.
Cool.
Me.
I didn't Google it, but I was like, I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, her brother also wrestled and was in. Do you remember? Oh, I don't think you will, because this was in the part where you weren't watching wrestling, but Juice and Domino. They came out like 1950s greaser looking guys.
No.
Yeah, Sim Snooker, Jimmy's son, and Tamina's brother was in that group.
Oh.
Shit. So, I was going to say, I would say it runs in the family, but I never thought Jimmy Snuka was that great. He just did a bit of high flying, which was outside the ordinary for a guy of that size at that time. So,
yes,
that brings us to the end of
it
WrestleMania
does.
1. Got a couple questions for you to finish off,
okay.
if that's all right. Nothing to worry about. Firstly, how did you find watching your first old wrestling event?
I didn't hate it as much as I thought I would.
I'm taking that as a win.
Yeah. I actually, when I finished it, I was like, you know what, that was all right. I really do feel like the time restraints had a very, very high...
Another hour would have been tough.
Oh, God.
Unless it had Al Hayes all over it.
Just him for an hour, actually.
See, this is what I mean. I said there'll be people that you would just latch onto.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed Lord Al Hayes would have been that guy in this one.
But yeah, he definitely was my highlight.
The time constraint does work. There's a couple of shows which I think you will find...
Oh, good.
Concerning...
A slog.
But even some of the recent ones are just long as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was one we watched that was a recent one that was
5
awful.
hours.
Yeah.
That was one day of it.
Yeah.
So obviously when we get there, we'll be doing that as a two-parter. But that was the first March Through the Mania. What would you score this card out of 10?
God, it's so hard because I also don't want to compare it to new stuff.
I'm trying to
do it as a freestanding...
That's what I'm
As
doing.
a show by itself... This is hard because the beginning of it was poor for me. But it did peak. Like it went on a steady trajectory.
Oh, trajectory.
Thank you. Part of me wants to give it a 7. Part of me wants to give it a 6.5. I'll stick it at 6.5 because I'll be honest, the beginning of it filled me with dread. And then it did get better, and then also the bad stuff I ended up finding funny, which really helped.
I would have, if you're asking me, which you weren't, I will give it... I was leaning between 5 and 6.
Yeah.
I'll give it 6 because it was quick changes. I mean, it was a nightmare taking
Some of
notes.
it was a bit much, quick change-wise, but also for my brain, I can jump between things quite quick sometimes.
That's fine. I think, yeah, for me, it was a lot of the stuff ended up being slapstick, which helped.
Yes.
Because I like comedy.
Found it funny.
So it was, yeah, like I said, as your first dipping your toes into an older show.
I actually didn't hate it.
Because if I was picking one just on the basis of the content, I wouldn't have picked this.
No.
But it landed. And this first journey through March Through The Manias in the books, episode 10, done. Do you have the socials to hand there?
No.
You want me to fill some time?
Yeah. The one thing actually I will say about this is the one thing I could have done without all that backstage bullshit.
Oh yeah, you've got a lot of that nonsense to look forward to, I'll be honest with you.
I know. And again, I'd have to do what I did with this and fresh head.
Oh yeah.
And just
judge it under its own merits.
Yeah, but please don't tell me every single match has some manager. Like, fuck off.
There's a lot
just
of
wrestle.
Work. A lot of manager work.
Oh God. Right, we're here now. Email wintwicepod@gmail.com. Should there be any suggestions for matches come through? Because we're obviously going to do Manias, but in between we are doing a what I call a normal.
Yeah, that is the phrasing you've used for sure.
Instagram wintwicepod, TikTok wintwicepod, YouTube wintwicepod.
And we're doing well on YouTube, aren't we?
Oh, we just.
I think we're about around 177 subscribers.
Very nice.
5,000 views.
Yeah.
So yeah, doing really well there. So go and give it a subscribe if you haven't already. I mean, we've got wonderful Jamie doing the...
he's so good. And he hasn't screwed me over yet, so I'm very, very happy with the many stupid things that I have said.
And there's a lot.
Yes, there is. There is. And I'm forever grateful that one of them never turned into anything.
Oh, he's got that in his back pocket.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
He timestamps them so he knows what to put for future content.
Duly noted.
So yeah, that, like I said, brings us to the end of episode 10.
Mm-hmm.
Next episode, we've already decided what we're doing. As Holly said, we're taking it in turns between the Manias, just in case it becomes a bit of a slog, given the length of it.
For me, also, I think it would be one after t'other would be a little bit of a struggle.
No, that's fair enough. So the next episode, we've already decided. We'll confirm what that is at a later date.
Yeah.
And then after that, it'll be again back to WrestleMania 2.
Yay.
Yeah, WrestleMania 2 is all right, actually,
okay.
I think, ish.
Okay.
WrestleMania 4 is I'm going to struggle on that.
So, if you're going to struggle, I'll be screwed.
Yeah, I mean, but if you think about it like this, that's about 4 episodes away,
True.
or 6 episodes away,
I've
so that's
time.
like 2 months.
Yeah, true.
So, fine.
That's
so, yeah, that brings us to the end of this. Hope everyone had a wonderful time listening, and hopefully you will join us for episode number 11. Bye.
Toodles.